I took a nap like an hour ago because we were up late last night at Cora's and just bad sleep the night before as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were there with me. I mean, you weren't. I was texting you.
Yes, I was there in spirit.
Yeah. Just multiple. I can fall. My body allows me to fall asleep after like 9, and then requires that I get up at 5:30. There's no like, oh, you went to bed late. Let's just lay in bed a little bit. Nope, you are awake. You are like the widest awake you will be the entire day right now at 5:30.
Yeah.
And there's no hope of falling back asleep. But I did manage. I took a rare nap. I don't know when it was, like 4:30 or something. And I hate naps. Like you guys, like, there's some people who like praise the nap as like something that's very refreshing, rejuvenating. I took a nap and I like woke up this like slobbery, disoriented mess. Like I didn't know where I was. I didn't know when I was. And I didn't know who I was. Yeah. And I was just trying to make dinner and Claire was trying to talk to me. And I think I was just like, I don't know what you're saying right now. Like I'm so focused on these eggs and that's the only thing I can focus on.
The key to napping, at least as far as like I found, has been 15 to 20 minutes is the amount of time that it takes. Like, okay, you wake up, you are refreshed, you feel rejuvenated, you are ready to go. If it's like anything longer than that, especially if it gets into like the 1 to 2 hour mark, destroys the rest of your day. Ooh. And like you're just like done. So yeah. Like
there's got to be science behind this, right?
Maybe
like the REM cycles and stuff like that. Like at what point you want to cut it off? Like pull the ripcord before you get too sucked in.
Right. I think that probably has something to do with it.
Let's just I'll hit us with that sweet intro. Welcome to Analog Schtick, a PlayStation 2 podcast, the podcast where every month we do a deep dive on one PS2 title. We cover the game's development history, discuss its legacy, as well as share our thoughts and opinions on the game through a modern lens. We release a new episode on the 2nd of every month, so subscribe or follow if you'd like to stay up to date with the show. Please support the podcast by leaving a review or rating on whatever platform you like to listen on. You can find us on podcast platforms and YouTube as Analog Schtick. I'm your host, Clayton, joined as always by my robotic co-host, Morgan. Morgan, how are you?
That's my best Clank
That was pretty
attempt.
Good. Yeah. I tossed it to you not knowing what Clank line or voice you would do, and that was probably perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll jump right into the housekeeping segment. I rebranded the Joystick YouTube channel to just be Analog Schtick. It's a minor thing. Not many people even find us on YouTube.
No.
Mainly podcasts. But for like the 30 people that sometimes listen to the YouTube version for some reason, we are now Analog Schtick. Yeah.
We love you and we changed our name. Hello.
Yeah, we just rebranded it just to be one thing. I thought it made it more simple. I did make a new Joystick account just to have it, I guess, in case we wanted to. I don't even know. Like, I don't know what I would do with it, but I have it.
Okay.
I just thought it made more sense since it's like we've only posted this one thing for like a year. So it's fine.
That makes sense.
And I really am not putting too much. I would like to revamp. I've got like a clips format that I'm like working with. I'm trying to find like a good like video component to like a shorts or a TikTok or like just a clips thing that would be like nice and easily repeatable. So I could pump out some clips, get some favor from the YouTube algorithm or something. I don't know. But I'd like to put more focus on like that front of things. I say that having just put up probably the laziest video version of the podcast that I've ever put up, which was the Sonic Heroes video. Did you catch that one by chance?
Yes, and I actually have something to say about it because Sage, my beloved husband, came busting into my office and he was like, "Whose gameplay footage is that?" And I was like, "Well, it's definitely not mine." And he was like, "Well, whoever was playing it is terrible. And no wonder you guys didn't enjoy the game because you didn't even understand how it worked." And I'm like, "Listen, we tried." Like,
dude, I am so happy that he said that. Because I looked at my phone the other day and I'm like, Sage called me? And I texted him. I'm like, "Did you mean to call me?" And he's like, I don't know what he said. He's like, whatever.
Yeah, I was like,
matter.
Well, because I told him, I was like, well, if you have an issue with it, you got to take it up with Clayton because, like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he called you, I guess.
So for those of you, most of you who did not catch the video version of the Sonic episode, normally for the video version of the podcast, we don't like record our faces or anything. It's literally just like gameplay footage. My goal is to record while I'm playing, so I don't have to like replay it to get more footage. And ideally, it doesn't loop ever. It just lasts for like 2 or 3 hours, and I can just have that going in the background as just some visual interest for you monkeys. I don't know why I said that. For you.
You beloved listeners.
Yeah, beloved listeners are on audio platforms.
Okay.
The monkeys, those are on YouTube. You guys are the monkeys. Hey, shout out to the monkeys, though. Y'all are wild. Anyway, 30 of you strong or whatever it is on YouTube.
Right.
But yeah, the video version of Sonic was just the first level, because I had to record it like a couple days before the episode went up, or maybe like the day before, because my setup has been in turmoil and I have not been able to like capture footage while I was playing it. So my schedule got all messed up and I was just like, okay, I'm going to play it now. I have time. And I just remembered how much I hate the game. And I just sat. I like played for a little bit and then I got to a part where I was like, wait, I don't remember what to do. And then I just sat there for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. I remember that.
Turned it off and looped it a couple times. It was probably the most offensive amount of low effort that I could have put into it. But I'm like, I just don't have time for Sonic at this point.
Oh my God, that's so funny. No, because I do. It's funny that you were calling people who listen to the YouTube version monkeys, because I am one of the monkeys.
You're the leader of the monkeys.
Yeah. I guess. Because I will put on the video, but I will like lock my phone and just shove it in my pocket and like listen to it, just because like that's mainly what I do on YouTube anyways. I'll like put on a video and just like listen to it while I walk around and do chores and stuff. And at one point I did sit down and was like kind of watching the gameplay, and it was at the point where you were just standing there and I was like, what? Is he like looking up a walkthrough or something? Like, what's happening? Why is he taking so long to move? But also I was like, oh yeah, I remember this part. And I also got stuck here and didn't know what to do. So like, whatever.
Yeah, just
like, yeah, it makes sense.
I was like, you know what? If it was any other game, I'd push through right now.
Yeah.
But
not for this one.
I'm just going to let this one go. I'll take the L on this one.
Okay.
But yeah, so going forward, I would love to put more time into like the YouTube version and like show relevant footage to what we're discussing, but that would be like a whole nother ordeal for like the least viewed version of the show.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe at some point there will be enough reason for me to push through that. I don't know. I know it's like a chicken and egg thing where it's like, yeah, I put no effort into it and it will probably stay the least viewed version of the show for that reason. But
right. Yeah.
What were we talking about? Now Analog Schtick.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then on to other housekeeping.
Yeah. So also write in with any questions or feedback to analogschtickmail@gmail. That started like a couple days ago. I forgot to put the link in the description of the Sonic episode. Probably a good thing. Probably wanted to keep people from writing in on that episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I'll probably stick it in the link to every episode just to have it there. Just accumulating feedback. Anyone who's got anything to say, any grievances to air.
Questions?
Yeah, questions too. I was expecting it to be hostile, but it could just be a question.
I was going to say, don't set the precedent for being hostile. We want to have civil discussions, okay?
Yeah, civil discussions.
I don't want to throw down with anybody.
Yeah, we'll just be gathering some questions and stuff, and eventually we'll throw out, I don't know. I'm thinking we'll throw out a bonus episode at some point where we just respond to listener inquiries. All right, so 45 minutes of our Sonic the Heroes episode was dedicated to Naruto, so I think the fans deserve an update. Yeah, also, sorry if you wanted to listen to Ratchet and Clank stuff right off the bat.
We have to weed out the weak with the Naruto.
Yeah,
buffer.
we have to make sure you're strong enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to discuss Naruto for a little bit. Skip forward like 20 minutes if you want to try to dodge this segment. But anyway, I think between whenever we recorded the last episode and now, I started watching the series. I'm on the first series, just Naruto. I finished the tuning exams recently. Clayton cut this. But the tuning exams end with.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I
Have
finished
you
that.
seen that happen?
Yeah. I
Okay.
didn't know if I didn't know if I was like blending two arcs together, but yeah. Okay, so I finished the tuning exam arc.
Yeah. No, I would say like the tuning exams sort of like come to an end when Sasuke and Gaara both like just run off, and you're like, or no, or is it just Gaara that runs off?
Yeah, like Gaara runs off, and then Sasuke's after him.
Yeah, and then they're like chasing each other through the woods for like a handful of episodes, and then Sarutobi, the third Hokage, and Orochimaru are just like in a standoff for so long, for
very long time,
too long,
too long.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into like I love a lot of things about the show. I also hate a lot of things about the show, and a lot of the things I hate come down to just the general format of I don't know, like anime is tropey, it's like they have this character and then there's like isekais and like these formats that like some animes follow. I don't know if like, so I know Dragon Ball does this as well, but like the whole like, we have a fight that lasts 20 episodes and there's like thousands of flashbacks and like constant like interrupting of like the flow of the episode. I don't know if that is a trope of anime, despite it happening in many like serialized anime, or if it's like just more related to like the medium that it's being published as like a weekly episodic thing. Like, I don't know. Like this was more, if there was like a future version of Naruto where it was like condensed, like I imagine that stuff would be gone and it would still be anime. Like, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I think there might be a couple reasons for why this show is like formatted the way it is, in terms of like constant interruptions and like flashbacks and stuff. And part of that, I think it was like the original way in which it was aired was like, this is like on TV. There is no like on demand, like when the show was being like produced. So like
that too, yeah.
You have to like catch the episode every week. And there might be weeks where you like missed. So those flashbacks are helpful to viewers who like might have like forgotten certain things between watching episodes, or maybe they missed a few episodes and they still like want context. Also, I'm sure recycling certain like shots and like segments of animation massively cuts down on the budget.
Massively cuts down on
saves like a lot of time, and so you can produce more episodes quickly. Now that being said, Shippuden, the next series, fixes a lot of like the flashback episodes. Or sorry, not the flashback episodes, but the constant cutting to flashbacks. Like Shippuden will not, in the vast majority of cases, cut back to something that somebody said literally like 5 minutes ago. Whereas Naruto does that a lot.
Yeah.
So that's, the that's pacing good. That way is probably a big improvement, but yeah,
they definitely could not take into account the like streaming future where I'm just watching every episode back to back. Although I guess it would have been wait, I don't even know when were DVDs pop. When did the show start? 2000s, right? It wasn't. I think so. 90.
The original manga came out in 1995, I think, and I don't think it was made into a show until like, I don't know, early 2000s, if not like
that's 2000. Like shockingly recent. Like in my head, this was maybe the anime started in the 90s or something, but yeah.
No, I don't think it did. Yeah.
I wonder if like, because I mean, obviously like serialized content was like not like super readily available in the VHS era because of the limitations of, time on a VHS tape. But like with DVDs and stuff, I don't know. I would love to watch a cut of this where it's just like, I wonder like how much you could cut out. Like, if you cut out like the flashbacks, would it still like flow right? And like the flashbacks and then like the intro recaps and stuff like that. All of it's so like, because you can literally skip like maybe like a third of every episode or something.
Yeah. That's why, so like when Sage and I were watching it, we were like liberally using the fast forward button or like the skip 10 seconds button to skip through the flashbacks and just like get to like, okay, well, what's happening now? Because we already know. I know that there is like a condensed version of Naruto that somebody has put together, but that also, I don't know, I haven't like watched it because when I started, I was like opting in like, oh yeah, sure, I'll watch the filler. Because like I want the full experience. I want to be able to judge the thing for like how it is. So I don't actually know how it flows. But I'm assuming it can get kind of choppy at times.
I think that I would like to just. I think I've also given up on filler because I was kind of adamant, like, oh, I have to watch the show. I mean, I'm not going to not watch the show if I'm watching the show.
Mhm.
But I think that I probably will just focus on the arcs going forward. I would love if I could just like read one sentence, like what this filler episode is as I skip them.
Well, like
That'd
I
be good.
said, one of my favorite episodes is actually a filler episode, and I don't remember when that comes in. You might be getting close to it.
Maybe. I
but-
wonder like what the feel of a filler episode would be if you were, you know, in 2000 whatever, like watching this weekly. I think about that a lot, even for like the main episodes, where I'm like, would I be satisfied if I just like saw this amount of this episode? Like something cataclysmic happened last episode and they just like barely get into it this episode. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that would be satisfying or not.
Well, Pokemon would do that too. Where like you would have like a whole episode where like nothing happens. I remember as a kid like trying to watch that and getting like frustrated. Like where's the content? When is stuff gonna happen? Yeah, it just pacing is kind of funky. But there have also been there was actually an arc in Shippuden that I just watched that was 2 episodes, and it just like threw so much information at me, and I was like, I wanted to savor that more. And you cut cut it. It was so like condensed where it's like, I think this thing should have a significant emotional impact, and it's you just like bum rush through it. Why did you do that? So but that's the only arc that I've had that happen with so far. Everything else I've been kind of like, all right, let's go. I think the tuning exams are pretty well paced, but
yeah, it was really fun. I mean, there's like a lot of like sub arcs, I guess, within that arc, you know. So and they're all very good.
The Neji thing. How fucked up is that?
It's just like they introduce so many characters in that arc, and I'm like, oh, these must be just like filler guys or whatever. And I'm like, no. I care about like literally all of these people that they introduced. Like they're so like unique, despite being just like, I'm like, oh, these are side characters. Yeah. But I'm like, oh my gosh, these are all like very, they're the women being like horribly.
Yes. The women are like so dirty.
The women are just like real bad. It's like they have nothing, which is so sad. Some of their character designs are really sweet, but yeah, they almost have something and then they don't. Yeah. And occasionally it'll be like, oh my God, like Sakurai's just like jumping in, trying to save stuff. That's cool. Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's okay. That's over.
Her most like, I think like girl boss moment. So like the thing that
when they cut their hair.
They cut their hair. It's like, whoa. And then like nothing happens. However, I would just like to point out that my favorite moment of that fight that I was like, oh, holy shit, Sakura's going off the rails, was when she uses the substitution jutsu twice. And so they're like throwing like knives at her, and they're like, and it just like poof, and it's like a log. But then the third time it happens, she just like tanks the hit and takes the knives. And I was like, holy shit, Sakura, that was amazing. But then like nothing happens. And then Rock Lee has to come in and like, I'm going to save you. And it's okay.
That like, also kind of sucks. Like the interactions with females also suck.
Yes.
Like that part of Rock Lee's character is like, okay, like I get it. That's like I guess this is the anime trope that we're getting into. Like, the sort of like head over heels, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mega fixation with a character or something, but yeah.
Yeah. Again, Shippuden does actually sort of fix some of those issues. Like Sakura, I'm sorry, there's a tree outside my window that's going crazy with like the wind and stuff. But a lot of the way that Sakura was handled in Naruto was like driving me up a wall. But in Shippuden, she's actually at a place now where I have so much respect for Sakura, and like actually like she is like I appreciate her a lot and like her as a character. Sakura has like a lot of haters, I think, and I fault like the writing for that, and also people kind of like to shit on women sometimes, but like, you know, what you gonna do?
What are you talking about? People love women all the time. Anyway. We're talking about Naruto a lot, and we said we were going to, but I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to spend too long. I'll just say I love so many of the characters. Bug Guy, love Bug Guy.
Yeah.
Shino's cool. I forget their names. Yeah.
No, did you see the spot where like Shikamaru was like pretending to be asleep? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Where like the bad guys attack at the end of the tuning exams.
Oh my god, yes.
And Sakura's like, "You idiot, what are you doing? You can't just sleep."
I didn't want to have to do anything. Yeah, they're like under attack.
Yes,
they've all been secretly put to sleep, and Sakurai and this one other person's like evaded it or whatever, and it's just like, I just didn't want to have to do anything.
Right.
Yeah, I just pretended to die.
What a drag.
It's like I see that character and we're introduced to him fairly early on, and it's just like, I would never have guessed it. It's like, you're going to make me love this character?
Right.
This is great. Oh man. His like, he just doesn't want to do anything, and he's like mega smart. Mm-hmm. And it's like no one realizes. It's so funny.
He's like the ultimate gifted kid.
Oh man. We're going to spend way too long talking about this.
Yeah.
The part where he's like, okay, I'm the one who needs to go back and like distract these dudes or whatever. And then his instructor jumps in the last minute. I'm like, oh, I love this dude. I love all the instructors now too. I love the kids. I love the adults. There's no one I don't love in this show.
Right.
It's so good.
Even the evil kids, even the Sand Village kids, it's like, I still kind of love them.
I love them.
Yeah.
I love them so much.
Yeah.
So I've been watching, I've got like this rule for myself with the dub versus sub, and I'm down to watch like filler-ish stuff with dub or whatever, dubbed, and just like kind of go about my business because I don't have to pay attention to it, like watch it that way. I can just kind of like do dishes or whatever and still kind of advance the story. But if there's like a fight or like a major episode, I do insist on like watching it subbed, because I feel like it feels less corny whenever there's action and it's in Japanese. I don't know why, but
yeah, probably because that's what the animation was made for, so the lines flow a lot better.
Yeah. Like I like Rock Lee and Gaara's fight. It's like, oh man, the sub is like really, really satisfying to watch. But Rock Lee's most of the voice actors are fine in English, but I do specifically love Gaara's a lot. I like Gaara's voice actor in the English dub.
He sounds like a little creep.
I know, he's like super creepy. I love him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that can be the end of the Naruto discussion. Let's get into this goddamn opening topic 30 minutes into this show.
Jesus,
so after our previous opening topic, let's get into this new opening topic. I mean, I hope this isn't one that we got to break up into multiple recording sessions, but we'll see. I wanted to discuss PlayStation mascots for our opening topic because, you know, I would feel like the only other like of Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation, Nintendo's definitely had the most like stable array of, you know, IP and mascot characters and stuff like that. Sony's probably second. Microsoft's weird with like Halo. I guess it's the mascot of Xbox. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
it's
they have
weird.
Cortana.
Yeah, they got Cortana.
Yeah.
You know? They got a Marcus Phoenix. You know Marcus Phoenix?
I don't know who that is.
He's the Gears dude.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Marcus Phoenix?
That's his name, yes.
That's special, I think.
I guess they have like Viva Pinata. I don't even know. What
Viva
the Xbox? Anyway, we're not talking about the Xbox mascots.
Okay.
I wanted to discuss some. I feel like PlayStation also has like an array of mascots, but I'd like to narrow it down to one person.
Okay.
Like, who would be like the best representation of PlayStation, or like serve as the best mascot to like represent, you know, the multifaceted, you know, PlayStation audience or whatever. And I just wrote down like a couple of the big ones that come to mind.
Okay.
I split it up into like modern options that are like actually realistic, and then like some older ones that maybe have like been suitable mascots at one point in time or another. And we can discuss those, I guess, a little bit. But Nathan Drake of Uncharted, very plain vanilla type character, you know. He's a perfectly fine character. He does give off default human vibes to me personally.
Just the way he looks.
It's good. He's a well-made character. You know, he's well-written. He's got all this fun stuff in the game. But, you know, just based off looks, which I think is a big part of the mascot energy, I feel like it's appropriate, but at the same time, it's like, it's not the most exciting pick, I don't think. We got Aloy from Horizon, the lead lady of the Horizon series. I think it's a solid pick. I'm not like too big on the Horizon series, but it feels like a nice pick. And unlike the next pick, which we'll get into, it's a much less dark, world and stuff, which I feel like you want. You don't want to pick Ellie from The Last of Us, who's the next person I'm going to discuss. It's like, this is the face of PlayStation. This game where you just, murder countless people the most like gruesome way possible.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to make that the mascot, even though it may be like the best selling, like individual, like unique Sony IP. I'm not sure. And it may be like one of their most important games, but at the same time, it feels like it'd be a strange pick. Next up, Ratchet and Clank, which is still a modern franchise. I don't know how you feel about Ratchet and Clank as being like the face of PlayStation, despite like kind of leaving for like an entire generation, basically.
Leaving.
Yeah, they weren't really on the PS4. I mean, they had
one game.
They had the remake. Yeah. No new games really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Astrobot would be my personal favorite, with it being like the pack-in game. It's a game about showcasing different like PlayStation games and stuff. It feels like a very nice, like all-encompassing pick. Spider-Man, but not really, because that's not really real. It'd be very strange.
Yeah.
To be like, Spider-Man.
Well, Sony.
Is it the best-selling game?
I don't know.
Yes. Does Sony own it? Yes.
Yes.
These are all yeses. But it's like, it is Spider-Man from Marvel, and it feels weird to be like, yep, that's the face of PlayStation. Did they use the same font for the PS3, the fat PS3?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They did.
But is it right? I don't think so.
No.
Also got Kratos, which I feel like of the like M-rated Sony games is maybe the best one, because it's got the longest legacy and it's kind of a unique character.
Yeah.
I guess. But even then, he's like undergone some revisions. He used to be this like little womanizer with some sex mini games, and now he's this sad dad man.
Yeah. Sad dad simulator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. Sackboy, which I feel like was a very good like pick for like a mascot for Sony for a while, and I feel like they acted as the Sony mascot for a while too, because it does a similar thing to Astrobot, where there's a lot of like costumes and stuff within the game for like Ratchet and Clank and other Sony like IPs and stuff. But Media Molecule's kind of like fallen off a cliff like for the past, I don't know, 7 years while they were working on Dreams. And there's not really ever probably going to be a normal Little Big Planet game again. I don't know. So that franchise seems to be a little fumbled. And then we got Knack.
For meme potential.
For meme potential.
Knack is good, yeah.
Yeah. So like, of these modern options, do any of these like speak to you? Or do you think would be like interesting to like push as like, hey, this is our dude now?
I personally think Astro Boy is the strongest, just because that's what this is, or sorry, not Astro Boy, Astrobot.
I wasn't going to correct you, but
no, because that's like, this is the PlayStation branded game, right?
Yeah.
That's what that was from. So he is, or they are specifically crafted to be like this sort of like just little guy that you can use to make references to other PlayStation titles, and I feel like that's probably the strongest way to do it. Sackboy, I think, once held that position.
Yes,
but like you said, with the dropping of the bag, I don't think that would be a smart move to like take a dead franchise and be like, this is our guy.
Now, I gotta say, Astrobot, much better name than Sackboy. There was always something that rubbed me a little wrong with the name Sackboy.
Sackboy, yeah.
I didn't really want to tell my parents about Sackboy. It seemed inappropriate. But yeah, I love Little Big Planet. It's probably one of my most formative games that I've probably ever played.
Yeah.
Little Big Planet 1 and 2. Very important to me. But it's just like, it's gone. You missed the opportunity.
Right.
Media Molecule's not behind it anymore. It's like, they were probably the most important aspect of that. And now they're just, fucking off to Dream territory. Yeah, it's terrible. It's I don't know what's going on over there. I think they're pulling the plug on Dreams as well. Like,
oof.
Yeah, I think I'm also Astrobot. The one hang up I have with Astrobot is how representative is it of like modern PlayStation? Like, this is the console with like a bunch of like, mature titles.
Simulators.
Yeah, sad dad simulators, you could say. That would be one way of putting it, yes. I don't know. Maybe they need to make an Astrobot where he has a little Astro Boy and is trying to lead him through the wasteland that is that universe.
Astro Baby.
Astro Baby. He also has a beard now. That'd be good.
And a gun slung over his shoulder.
Yeah. I would love more Astrobot games. That was one of the most like polished like platformers that I've played. It's like a Nintendo level of polish in a platformer, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, and like the whole like PlayStation Hall of Fame stuff was just adorable.
It really was. It was fun.
Yeah.
Every time I saw something, I'm like, oh, that's that thing. I'm like Leonardo in that meme. Like, it's the thing.
It's the thing, yeah.
Oh my God, it's that game that I played. I know that. But yeah, that's I think we're in agreement. Astro Boy makes sense for PlayStation. So to the PlayStation executives listening, there you go. What more do you want from us? Now retro picks. I have a couple.
Okay.
And I kind of want to know like if any of these you associate with being like a PlayStation mascot even. So like Spyro, despite being owned by Universal, and Crash as well, I guess. I feel like we're both very iconic like PlayStation characters. I don't know, like if you had to pick one or the other, I don't know which way you would lean because I feel like there's a good argument for both.
Yeah. Was Crash? See, I feel like Spyro was like Crash's like little brother. I think is like the vibe that a lot of people have in terms of like the popularity of the games and stuff like that. So I think Crash would be, even though I personally prefer Spyro, I think Crash would be the more like popular pick.
I think so too. I think that I like Spyro as a character more than Crash for being a mascot. It feels like you don't want some unhinged mascot. I don't know. But Spyro's just like, hey, I'm a cool dragon.
Yeah.
And Crash is just like, wah, woo, wee, wah. You know what I mean? It's like a little police car running around.
Wah, woo, wee, wah.
Yeah.
Crash, 1998.
Yeah. So I feel like Crash is probably like a more accurate, a truer pick, but I think I would personally lean towards Spyro. Now, of the PlayStation 2 generation, with like Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, and Jak and Daxter, I don't know, like, I feel like those are the three picks for like a sort of kid-friendly mascot to the same level of Spyro and Crash. Now, which of these do you go for? There's, again, I think a good argument for all of them.
Yeah. So I feel like Ratchet and Clank really hits, aesthetically speaking, the early 2000s, like cool kids aesthetic. Just like based on like vibes alone. Like you have this like kind of like streetwise, like scrappy like little guy.
Little Lombax. Every kid wanted to be a little Lombax that smoked like 5 packs a day or whatever.
Right. Yeah. That's what Ratchet does. He smokes 5 packs a day. Like because he has like the hoverboard and he has like the cool guns, a cool car / spaceship. You know what I mean? And I feel like that fits like its era very well. That being said, I feel like Sly Cooper has his like color scheme of like the blue and like the black and like gray really suits the PS2 branding image. Because you have like this like sleek black box with like the blue sleek letters on it and that sort of thing. And like the intro is like, I don't know, interesting. Yeah. I don't know how to explain it because it's so, it's unique. It's its own thing. But Jak and Daxter, I think, sort of captures both of those things, maybe. But he's not really, after the first game, he's not family friendly anymore.
That's right. He's definitely the least consistent throughout all of them, I'd say.
It's a little bit edgy.
I think personally, I think I would go as far to say as like Sly Cooper, Bentley, and Murray as like characters are, I think, just stronger character. Like they're stronger conceptual characters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hands down. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, they kind of knew what they were going for mostly right away, I'd say, with that first game. I mean, obviously refined throughout second and third.
Definitely, yeah.
I feel like they all had like a little bit of a shaky start as far as really nailing who these characters are and how they are written and stuff. But I really like Sly's design.
Mm-hmm.
I really like his little gaggle of thieving friends. It's good. I'd cast my vote for Sly. It is cool that like, Spyro and Crash, Naughty Dog and Insomniac, two very important developers for that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then continuing with Insomniac and Naughty Dog, but now with Sucker Punch and Sly Cooper. And then like going forward to today, it's like, yeah, these are still like the main dudes. We got like Sucker Punch, Insomniac, and Naughty Dog out here still making like the most important games for PlayStation. It's neat.
Good for them.
I know, it's cool. It's cool that they've like kept these studios despite them being in like a second party relationship for a very long time. Now, I threw in here Cole McGrath for some reason. I don't really know what I was thinking whenever I said that. Again, I think it's even worse than Nathan Drake as far as just generic looking male.
Guy. He has a shaved head.
He bald, man.
That's even more generic.
That's my kind of dude, but yeah. I do like him more in the second. I feel like in the first game he's very generic, but in the second game have you played Infamous? Yeah, you have, right? Yeah. I feel like in the second game he becomes a bit more of like a punk rocker type dude.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's like, what Delson is.
Yeah, also, Delson's like major that.
The name Delson just kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
Delson.
Hey, bro, my name's Delson. Like, you just can't take it seriously. I don't know.
Yeah. I never played Infamous Second Son, really. I played like the intro of it because it was just like included with all the PlayStation 5s and stuff, but it was very pretty, very much particles, but I didn't play it very long, but yeah.
I also see you have Cloud on the list.
Yes.
Who I do like, but I feel like he's more of the Final Fantasy mascot.
Yeah, he is.
So he's already
obviously an essential PlayStation
Classic
1 character.
Yeah.
An essential PlayStation 1 game, but I think you're right. The fact that they're not like... Now, Final Fantasy is like... sometimes it feels like borderline a PlayStation exclusive franchise, despite it not actually being a PlayStation exclusive franchise.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, but like 16 is PS5 only.
It is?
7 Remake never came to anything else.
Oh.
It was like pitched as exclusive for like a year, I think, and it just never came anywhere else.
Oh,
it might be on PC though. It might be on PC.
Because like 13 was on Xbox too. And I think PC, but
yeah. And then like the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, that's everywhere. But to be fair, that had less of a PlayStation. Well, it had no PlayStation association because it wasn't around yet. But yeah, that's just a neat one. I feel like there's an argument for Cloud, even if he's not going to make it.
Yeah.
And then the last one I have is Fat Princess. I don't know if you're familiar with Fat Princess.
I'm actually not. I have no idea what she's from. I've never. Yeah.
Go ahead and give Fat Princess a Google.
Okay.
It's an action like strategy game.
I see.
Where I believe you're trying to capture the other team's princess, and to make your princess more difficult to capture, you're like force feeding her to make her fatter.
Oh, that's weird.
Very strange Sony exclusive.
That's like stepping into like kink territory.
Oh, it is, isn't it? This was a different time. This is something that I don't know. There was a Fat Princess reference in Astro Bot.
Oh. Okay.
And I feel like that is the most anyone's ever going to get away with mentioning Fat Princess again at Sony.
All right. Alrighty.
What a dangerous game to just openly associate with at this point.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is the opening topic. We're just kind of naming people. It's like Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank. Oh, I like that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into the game at hand, Ratchet and Clank. And before we discuss our most recent playthrough and our opinions, let's give y'all a little bit of background info on Insomniac and the Ratchet and Clank development. So, in partnership with Universal, Insomniac Games were the developers behind the very successful Spyro the Dragon trilogy for the PlayStation 1. And after this partnership ended with Universal, Insomniac Games began working on what would become Ratchet and Clank. This time partnered with Sony as their publisher.
So some of the research I did, so I managed to find some articles in like interviews with developers that were, what gaming magazine did they make an appearance in?
It was Game Freak, I think.
Yeah, Game Freaks
wait,
was one.
I was like Game Freak, and I'm like, Pokemon? Wait, no. Yeah, Game Freaks.
Yeah,
plural.
And then it was like a game developer magazine, like a magazine for game developers. I don't remember what it was called. Let me click on the link and figure that out.
It does just say game developer on archive.org.
Okay, so I guess the magazine is just called Game Developer. And then what's the top 100 games of all time thing?
That was that website that we reference occasionally.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I was digging around through the Internet Archives to sort of like get, what the developers were saying about Ratchet and Clank back in the day. And I found some like interesting stuff. So according to developers, the game was inspired by Spyro, Mario 64, Zelda, and Super Metroid. So sort of like, some platforming, adventure, probably like little like puzzle elements to it. You know what I mean? Where like Zelda sort of has a similar formula with, like the gadgets and I'm drawing a blank. What would you call them?
They're just items? Like key objects.
Key objects, sure.
Yeah, like, the progression is like tied to like these, what are they called? Like if you had to group, I guess key items, I don't know.
Yeah, what would you, gadgets? I mean, that's what they're called in Ratchet and Clank, but that feels like, that's not what they're called in Zelda, is it? Whatever.
Wouldn't it be funny if they were called gadgets anyway?
Maybe. But anyway, so before Insomniac started working on Ratchet and Clank, there was a precursor, a prototype that nowadays they refer to as Girl with a Stick. And basically it was meant to be a adventure game heavily influenced by Mayan art and culture. But they were having a lot of issues with the development, sort of like the world wasn't as vibrant, and sort of like trying to find a balance between like something that was visually appealing but also like realistic. And the team basically just wasn't vibing with it. Like nobody was like excited about it. They were sort of like, it was just having trouble getting it off the ground. And the team, they said that they weren't used to the style. And in the end, the partners at Insomniac decided to prioritize the team's morale and enthusiasm and scrapped it, which honestly, I have a lot of respect for that, because I know that there are, probably some corporate executives somewhere that are like, too bad, we've sunk resources into this, we're going to see it through to the end, you're just going to bang your head against a wall the whole time, but we're just going to shove it out there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Do you know, real quick, if there's any like screenshots or gameplay footage? Like, did they have anything like up and running for this?
There are screenshots, I think.
I typed in "girl with a stick" and I got a bunch of stock photos.
Oh, you could try Insomniac "girl with a stick." I know there's. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the project, they call it Girl with a Stick, but another code name they had for it was I-5, like Insomniac's 5th game.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So you can see like some of the concept art is still floating around on the internet, and it looks fine.
Generic, I guess.
Yeah, generic. I think generic was like a big problem that they had with it, which was like why they weren't excited about it.
Oh man, it's giving me vibes of that TMNT game right now.
Yeah, right. Where it's sort of like the color palettes are kind of like subdued.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just not super like, it doesn't have like a wow factor to it like Ratchet and Clank does. And we'll get to that. But so another fun thing about Ratchet and Clank's development. So Naughty Dog shared some of their background rendering technology that they developed for Jak and Daxter. And basically what they did was they called Ted Price, who is like the head of Insomniac. I don't know his official title, but they're like, hey, Ted, here, you can come to our studio and we're going to give you some of our rendering technology. The only thing we ask in return is that if you make any like advancements or developments with it, just like share it with us. And so it was sort of like just this like open-ended like invitation of like, let's collaborate, which is like really cool because like,
yeah, they're not even part of the same family at that point. They're all, I think Naughty Dog is with Sony permanently now. I'm not sure, but Insomniac is just like they're just collaborating on this game, or they're just working with them as a publisher. They're not like under the umbrella of Sony yet. So it's pretty neat to just be like, hey, potential competitor.
Right.
Here you go.
And to see like an opportunity instead of like competing and trying to like undercut each other, to be like, hey, let's share technology, and then the improvements benefit everybody. Like that's a nice way to look at it, I think. And then in Ted's post-mortem of Ratchet and Clank. So for those who might not be familiar, a post-mortem, it's not something that is exclusive.
It's after they die. They have this thing.
Well, that's
a statement written.
Well, that's like the literal version of it. But so post-mortems aren't something that is like exclusive to game development. It's also like a big part of project management. And it's basically like after, you've wrapped a project and all of the work is like completed, you go back and analyze, the processes and like the work that you did to highlight like areas where we did a really good job, stuff that we want to repeat, and stuff where we really struggled and want to improve. So it's really good for, taking a step back and being like, how can we do better next time? And so I found Ted's postmortem in the Game Developer magazine. And so what he said was there was a huge emphasis on prototyping in the development of Ratchet and Clank. So like prototyping of, I think probably like weapons, the weapons and gadgets was probably, that was really important for getting those to a spot where they felt fun and balanced. He also said that the developers were on a tight schedule to make the deadline for pre-Christmas sales.
Interesting. It was already delayed a couple times too, right? It was meant to be a launch game.
Oh, it was? I don't actually remember.
I read
reading
that it was like maybe I don't know if that changed very early on, but I do remember it was discussed as a launch game, but delayed a year and a half to 2 years. So
okay,
yeah, I guess there was probably a shit or get off the pot deadline. So.
Yeah, kind of. That's funny. I've never heard that phrase before. But so when I was also one of the things I forgot to mention about prototyping, but one of the things that I'm assuming was like really important is how the game is structured. Like if you cut a weapon or a gadget late into development, that has a cascading effect for how the rest of the levels are set up, because they are built around like your inventory system, basically.
Yeah, I'm not a coder, not a game developer, but from what I understand, if you remove one thing, it affects it'll break the entire game in some way that you never anticipated. So I'm just going to say that's probably what happened. You take out the bomb glove and it's like, oh my God, it turns out all of Blackwater City was based on the bomb glove code.
We're fucked. Yeah. There was also another interesting thing where in terms of like time management, Ted said that they had, quote, enough time. I don't know. He didn't like really specify like it takes this long to make a level, but he said as far as like budgeting and like scheduling their time, they had enough time to make 20 levels, but decided to go for 18 just to give themselves some slack, which that's a common sense thing. But also that is like, I took project management courses, and that's a very important thing, is to give yourself that slack time, because if something can go wrong, it is going to go wrong. That's just how it works.
Definitely more so with like coding and development, I'd say, because that's also a factor at my job as well. But we're editors, so it's like stuff can go wrong, but like I don't think to the degree that it could go wrong for them necessarily. So.
Yeah, with like bugs and like troubleshooting and that sort of thing, that can get really nasty really quickly. They also had a big emphasis on focus testing. So during development, the game was focus tested in 25% increments. So they had a total of 4 focus tests. He did kind of hint at, though, that because they had those focus tests, they had some kind of like insane deadlines to meet to have the game ready for the focus tests. So on top of having, this is our like ship, like final product deadline, you also have to stick on schedule in order to make these focus tests happen. So I just thought that was like really interesting. I mean, I think like in the end it benefited the game, but I kind of wonder what it was like to work in those conditions where it's like, yeah, we have to like get all the bug fixes and these like level goals met for this focus test. And if we don't have that, well, then again, that has a cascading effect where like later down the line, we might be fucked because we don't have important feedback to make balancing decisions, and like crunch time all the time is kind of what it sounded like.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting. I just wanted to share that.
Very nice. Very nice. And then moving on to the release and reception of the game. It was finally released for the North American audiences on November 6, 2002. Ratchet and Clank was received very well by critics at the time, currently sitting at an 88 on Metacritic. The game was also very successful commercially, with estimated sales in the range of 1.1 million units as of 2007, which is pretty darn good for that time. And that's just in the United States. So it's probably much greater worldwide, and then not counting subsequent re-releases. So yeah. Insomniac Games went on to develop 3 more Ratchet and Clank games for the PlayStation 2 generation. 2, 3, and Deadlock. Wait, is it?
Deadlocked.
Yeah, Deadlocked. But are they named? Is it Ratchet and Clank 2 Going Commando, or is it just...
I think it's just Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, but the logo kind of forms it too.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. People just say Ratchet and Clank 2 because it's faster. Actually, no.
But
I think it was Ratchet and Clank 2 in Europe, maybe? Or am I...
Anyway,
whatever.
Whatever they do over there.
Yeah.
It's viewed as a trilogy, and then there's Deadlocked.
Yes.
And despite a strong start in the PlayStation 3 generation with the Tools of Destruction trilogy, it kind of went off the rails with like All for One and
the experimental era.
Yeah, that was a weird time.
Yeah.
It kind of pulled itself together with Into the Nexus, I think. Like, I think that was like a more traditional, like good, well-received version. I want to say that came out like for PS3 after the PS4 came out, which was like a stream, or maybe just like right before. Like, it was just a weird time.
Also, it was a very short game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, like after that, it kind of went on hiatus for all of PS4. There was the remake of the first game.
The movie tie-in game.
Yeah, the movie tie-in game. But there was no like new game. So yeah, that was I got minorly disappointing. And during all this time, Insomniac was working on a handful of different, publishing different games with different companies, including Xbox and PlayStation. But in 2019, after the massive commercial success that was Insomniac Spider-Man for the PS4, Sony was officially acquiring Insomniac Games for roughly $230 million from what I saw, which is like so low compared to the other acquisitions that are happening right now, like with the $77 billion acquisition, or 69 or whatever it is, for Activision, and then just like $7 billion for Bethesda, which is insane that happened just like a little bit later,
considering the quality and the state of things at the moment.
Yeah,
or like as it has been for the past few years.
Or is Bethesda worth like 20 times Insomniac? Like, probably not.
Somebody somewhere thought so.
I guess the major difference is they have the IP, that they're buying IP as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
With Insomniac, I don't know what IP they own. They didn't own like Ratchet and Clank, obviously Spider-Man. They didn't own maybe Sunset Overdrive. I don't know what the deal was with Microsoft, but they weren't buying IP. They were buying talent, which is good, but yeah, whatever. It's just a small number compared to the numbers we see thrown around now, like $2 billion for Bungie. Like, I guess you're buying an active live service game and a lot of very smart people who know how like live service games function.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, it feels like a weirdly low number.
Also, people can leave. People can leave other places.
A big part of a lot of these deals is paying for retention.
Oh, yeah. I see.
So like, I think everyone at Bungie was like, okay, here's $100,000 employee. Please stay here for like 2 years at least.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because you don't want everyone leaving.
No.
So stuff gets shaken up. But yeah. So Insomniac is now on board as a PlayStation first-party studio, and they've developed, I think, Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank in that time, or Rift Apart in that time. Those are 2 games, so it's not been too long, but there you have it. Hopefully Rift Apart is like the beginning of more Ratchet and Clank games. That'd be great, but I don't know. Games take longer to develop now, so it's weird.
Yeah, I feel like Rift Apart definitely, with its like ending and stuff, definitely was like, yeah, and next we're gonna go finally do this thing, and it's like, you better. And if that like next thing is like the last big hurrah, I would be okay with that. Because like those voice actors still like doing a fantastic job. Still love them to pieces, but their age is starting to show a little bit. Like listening to them, I'm like, yeah, they sound older.
Yeah, I get that. I thought it would have been dope to have like a similar to Miles Morales, like exactly like Miles Morales, where you have like this kind of budget game that's like just kind of built around playing as like a new character. Would have been awesome to play as like exclusively Rivet or something for like a shorter game. Yeah. That would have been cool. But yeah, hopefully, I mean, they seem to be dedicated to Ratchet and Clank, so
yeah.
Hopefully it's selling well enough for it to be, justifiable going into the future. But But yeah, all right, let's get into the time that we spent with the game for this podcast. So we both grew up playing Ratchet and Clank. You probably have more experience than me. I never finished Ratchet and Clank or Going Commando, which were the two games I had growing up. And I did jump into my Ratchet and Clank game to check my old save file. And I found it's very interesting because I found 3 save files spanning from 2006 to 2010 is like the most recent date. So that would have been 3rd grade and 7th grade. Very interesting. There's a chance it could have been like my brother or something as well. Yeah. But in my head, I was like, I don't think I ever made it further than Blackwater City, which was true, apparently. I loaded it up and it's like, oh, wow, I only made it to Blackwater City.
I want to say that stuck on the water thing.
My first thought was hoverboard, but it could have been water. It could have been either of those. But yeah, that's like a interesting thing. I had 15 hours on that save file and I was stuck at Blackwater City. It's like, wow. I must have just been grinding these earlier sections or something. Yeah. Because I had like 80,000 bolts. And it's just like, oh, wow. What was I doing? Was I just like hanging out?
Yeah. 80,000. What the hell?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a lot because that's not like, I definitely wasn't exploiting some weird like grinding thing. I was just like playing the earlier sections again. Like, oh, let me hop back on this planet and run around. That's fun. Yeah. I watched you play through all of the first game in college.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I forgot about that.
My profile picture is still that weird reflection of you from that day on my phone.
Yeah.
That weird, like, distorted reflection.
Yeah, in the mirror.
Yeah. So, yeah, we played through it then. Did we finish it?
I finished it with Zach, but I don't think... Zach came over to my apartment later, like much later.
I think that was the same day that I like ascended on top of your wardrobe and just like
you were planking up there.
I was planking up there.
Yeah.
Loved planking in weird spots. Yeah. It was my thing. So yeah, I've got that level of familiarity with it. And then I played through the PS3 stuff more, played through Tools of Destruction and Crack in Time, but not Quest for Booty because we didn't have internet access, I don't think, at that time. Yeah. Or credit card access. I don't know what the hang up was, but yeah. And I played through all of Rift Apart, got the Platinum Trophy.
Nice.
Earlier this year. What about you? What's your experience with Ratchet and Clank?
So I was a big Spyro fan as a child. I was obsessed with dragons. I was a dragon and dinosaur kid. I had no idea that Insomniac made both Spyro and Ratchet and Clank. That was a realization that hit me many years later, and I was like, "Holy shit! Oh my god!"
I like to think your brain was just turned off for like the start of the game. Like you boot it up, and you're just like a DOS powering up, waiting for the main menu to pop up, like just ignoring all the title cards and stuff.
Basically, yeah. Well, because so like the Insomniac logo in the Spyro games, my child brain never parsed that as like legible letters. I would always just like kind of glaze over it, and then like later, when I say later, I mean probably like 12. I was like, wait a minute, this is Insomniac. Wait a minute.
That's a word.
Ratchet and Clank also says Insomniac. Yeah. What? The same guys? I love them.
What are you going to tell me next?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to tell me Crash was the Jack and Daxter people? Oh my God, it was.
Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah. I knew that foliage looked familiar.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was visiting my grandmother and we went to like a Radio Shack or like a Best Buy or something in that area. And I saw the cover art for Ratchet and Clank Going Commando, which is the second game. And for some reason, I just saw this like little like stripy cat dude and I latched onto it and I was like, Dad, we have to get this game. And I went and showed it to my cousin, my teenage cousin who was in the store with us. And I was like, what do you know about this game? And he was like, it's good. And I went up to my dad and I was like, Dad, it's a good game.
Good. It's good, Dad.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
And he was like, all right. And so then that was like the age where like I didn't play the games, but I would sit there and watch my dad play. And we were both like enthralled with it. Like he liked it because guns and like explosions and, you know, like fun action stuff. And I was like, Dad, where are his parents? Like I was like asking like stupid like plot and like lore questions. And he was like, I don't know. Like, and the franchise would not answer that for many, many years.
We did get Clank's mom in the first game though. So we had that.
Yeah. But so basically I was like in love with it like right off the bat. And then we eventually went back, got the first game, and then got like the third game as it came out. Second game, I remember seeing the commercials on TV and I was like, new Ratchet and Clank. And, you know, I got a PS3 for Christmas for the purpose of, you know, getting to play Tools of Destruction and Crack in Time. Loved it to pieces. Have always loved this franchise to pieces, but I was seething with rage and hatred when they announced All for One and what was the Full Frontal Assault, which is a very questionable title.
Full Frontal Assault. I don't remember which one was first.
I think it was All for One, Full Frontal Assault, and then Into the Nexus.
What are the odds that they wanted to call All for One like Foursome or something and they just couldn't get it approved?
No, they did. They did. They wanted.
Wait.
Yes. No, it was Foreplay.
Oh, Foreplay. Yeah, that's it.
It was Foreplay. And another one that Sony was like, you can't do that, was Multiple Organisms. Yeah.
Why not?
What do you mean, why not?
Oh, what's wrong with multiple organisms? It's a good thing.
You know, yeah, it is a good thing, but not for parents who have little kids who might repeat that or ask questions or, you know.
Mom, I want to have multiple organisms.
Like, what? Who taught you that?
Yeah.
Fun thing that this just reminded me of. So there is actually a Let's Play of Ratchet and Clank Going Commando and Up Your Arsenal by two developers that actually worked on the game, Mike Stout and Tony Garcia. Love those guys. I think their channel is called Useless Podcasts.
Yeah, because that was taken, we could not call our podcast Useless
Right,
Podcast,
they already took
unfortunately.
It. Yeah. No, they have so many interesting like behind the scenes things to say about like development and like how the engine worked and stuff like that. And like they have such like funny perspectives on like levels that they worked on and stuff. And I was like enthralled the whole time. But where the hell was I going with that? What were we talking about?
I think you were talking about Tools of Destruction, and then you got a little. We were talking about names of the things.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I just remembered. So they were saying that they got hate mail from a parent who sent in like this like strongly worded letter of like, you need to stop putting like this gross potty humor in your games. And they were like, ha, ha, ha. They like sent it around the office and like made fun of it or something.
Yeah.
So that spirit with Rift Apart is still very much alive, and
it's definitely ripped apart, right? Like I heard a couple people try to get something else out of it, but I'm like, it's ripped apart. Come on.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I mean, they sort of like lost it with like Tools of Destruction isn't anything. Quest for Booty though.
Quest for Booty was a bit forthright.
Yeah.
With its
and like you know, Into the Nexus, no, but you know, like I said, Rift Apart, taking it back, owning it. As they should.
Yes.
Anyway.
I feel like it needs to be, I don't know, they kind of got away from that sort of like.
The potty humor
stuff. Like it's not, we'll get into this a little later, but the tone has changed.
Yeah.
Have you played every Ratchet and Clank game aside from the weird 4-player ones?
I have played All for One. I didn't get Full Frontal Assault. And I did buy Quest for Booty when they announced that the PS3 store was shutting down. I haven't played it yet, though.
I also did, because I'm like, well, I have to get this now.
Right, this is the only
What
way.
am I going to do if I cannot play Quest for Booty?
Right. But yeah, so I played all the games. Unfortunately, I never got to see the movie.
Yeah.
And I never got to read the comics. They had a comic series, a short-running comic series, and I wanted to read those, but I never got to.
Yeah.
So
I have like a morbid curiosity for the movie. I don't expect it to be like amazing, but I'm curious.
yeah.
It's a weird that it happened. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
there's a Ratchet and Clank movie out there. Why am I not trying to see this? Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't.
I don't know. Like, what is it going to be? What's going to happen? I don't know. Is it the first game?
Mm-hmm. Kind of. Well, it's like the more like the different tone. You know how you're saying the tone changed. So we can discuss that another time.
We'll discuss that later. But yeah. So what did you do for this episode?
I played through the whole game.
All right.
I got those golden bolts.
You got the golden bolts. Did you get? I assume the answer is yes, but you have like 100% of this game.
I platinumed it.
So that requires all the golden guns.
All the skill points.
All the skill points.
The million bolts achievement, which is hell to get in the first game.
I feel like even just grinding for the bolts required for like the golden guns is already like a tall order.
Intense, yeah. I used an exploit though to get the million.
Which one was it?
It was the get out of bounds and go walk around on the hoverboard track and spam
the taunter.
Taunter, yes, at the boxes. And I set something heavy on my PlayStation controller to keep the circle button pressed down, and then I walked away and did other things.
Yep. That seems to be like the best way to do it long term. I grinded a little bit because I just needed like to buy the Tesla gun. Was it Tesla gun? Tesla cannon? I don't remember.
Tesla coil?
Tesla coil? Yeah. The lightning gun.
Yes.
So I did the big Ratchet or the big Clank thing on the robot factory.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
It's like a decent way to get just,
that's what speedrunners do. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that. And even getting all of the guns was kind of like I almost got all the guns just playing through normally. Mm-hmm. But it's like I didn't get the Rhino, of course, because it's like
150.
For that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little strange. We'll get into the bolt distribution.
Yeah.
In a second, but yeah, I was interested in like doing 100%, but then I saw some of the requirements, and I'm like, yeah, probably not for this episode.
Yeah.
So I played through the game on PS2. And I played through like up to the bomb factory on the Vita just to check it out.
Okay. When you say the bomb factory, do you mean like the snowy place?
The snowy place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And it was cool. It's cool that it's on a handheld.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that covers time we spent with the game, our sort of history with it. Let's get into some very important questions. Got a handful here for you. First of all, I mean, this is becoming a staple at this point. They're very important questions. Ratchet and Clank, who lives and who dies?
Holy crap. Oh, no. You played a crack in time, right?
Yes. It's been a very long time.
I was going to say, do you know about that?
Does one of them die?
Yeah. Actually,
does Ratchet die?
Yes.
I feel like I kind of remember that. It's been a solid, like, over 10 years at this point.
Yeah. Ratchet takes like an energy bolt ball thing to the chest and stands there and is like clutching his chest and is like clearly like in the process of dying. And then he falls over the edge and just like disappears into an abyss. And Clank is like, ugh. And then he runs into the time machine and uses it to go back several minutes to prevent that from happening. But there is a short period of time where Ratchet is dead as fuck. But I mean, I love them both. I love them both dearly. And personality wise, I think I am actually, no, I don't know who I am. I don't think I'm really either of them, but I have always had a soft spot for Ratchet because he's like cat shaped. So I have to pick Ratchet.
See, I'm going to pick Clank.
Really?
Clank. Yeah. Cause I think,
Ratchet's kind of a dick in this game.
I think, well, it's not that I want to kill Ratchet. It's more so that I think that of the two, I think Ratchet would be like, it should be me. You know what I'm saying?
That is true. Ratchet would, I think.
He'd be the self-sacrificial one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of any instances where he's like actually done that. Because there might be. Well, Crack in Time is all about like, I have to get Clank back. And is like willing to do whatever it takes to get Clank back. So I think that Ratchet would make the choice of, well, they would both choose to save each other. I don't know. They're real bros.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, I'd save Clank, you'd save Ratchet. This is a very balanced podcast.
Okay.
Now, Ratchet or this new hotness? Rivet.
New hotness.
New hotness.
Well, I still have to pick. He's my boy. He's my bestest boy. He's been my bestest boy most of my life. I have to pick Ratchet. I can't help it.
Personally, I think I'd pick Rivet.
Okay. All right.
Again, perfectly balanced podcast.
Yeah.
I'd be down for like, it'd be so weird. Has there ever been a series where it's like, we have a long running series literally based off this one character? The series is named after them. And now we're just going to move on to a different character and see what happens. Like, what if Ratchet and Clank as a series continued through Rivet? Like, is that, I mean, like, it'd be weird. I don't think they should do that. But like,
yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean,
I would like to see more Rivet. Oh yeah,
Okay.
Star Wars. That's true. I would like to see more Rivet. Like, I think Rivet is a very fun character.
Oh, yeah, no, I love Rivet, actually. Yeah. No, I'm fine
Like,
with
when compared within that game, I do like Rivet over new Ratchet.
Yes.
Like modern day Ratchet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Again, perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Okay.
All right. So, we have now played through the first installments in the big 3 PS2 era mascot platformers, being Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, and Sly Cooper. Which of these 3, not necessarily which of these 3 is your favorite series, but specifically looking at the first games, the first entries in their respective series, which of these do you think is your favorite?
I think, so as a kid, I think I would have picked Ratchet and Clank. But as an adult, I think I like Sly Cooper the most.
That's like literally me.
Okay.
I think I might have picked Ratchet and Clank before, but like, I just feel like as a first game, Sly Cooper feels like, I just really like the first Sly Cooper.
Yeah, so do I.
I really like it.
And it's hard because like there's things I very much like Ratchet and Clank, like almost like I barely like Sly Cooper more. But there's flaws in Ratchet and Clank that I know are fixed later that make the later games much more enjoyable to play.
That's a big component of this. Like, yeah, like if we're talking about the second games, which maybe we will at some point, I could see myself picking Going Commando out of that list.
Yeah.
But for the first set of these games, I think I'm also going with Sly Cooper. I just think it's like, because they all kind of like, you know, took a minute to figure out what they were doing.
Right.
And Sly Cooper as well. But I feel like Sly Cooper, like that game works on its own. I don't know.
Exactly. No, yeah, I was thinking about it in terms of like, okay, this game is presented to you. What would you fix about it? Sly Cooper, I don't really have anything to like.
No, I have minor complaints. I feel like it's a very tight game.
Yeah.
Well packaged.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to go with Sly Cooper.
Okay.
Well, we're in agreement here. Well, I'm sorry for this echo chamber of this podcast, everybody. But yeah, we're in agreement. Agreement. Okay. Now, a broader question. Do you prefer the clean Ratchet, the modern Ratchet, or the more crude Ratchet? You know, the potty humor Ratchet.
I like the potty humor.
Yeah, I like the potty humor too.
Skid McMarks? Are you fucking kidding me? That's so funny. That's so funny.
That's like that is like your sense of humor.
Yes.
You literally make those, you do the blank McBlank thing all the time.
Yeah.
Did it originate from this game, or was it just the McDonald's thing? I don't know.
Well, that too. Well, the McDonald's thing was probably in some way influenced by like that, because like I grew up on these games and like this, like the stupidity. Oh my god! And there's like stuff in each like game that I just. Ratchet Deadlocked is so funny. It's so good. Like the humor in that game is amazing. Like, I know that's kind of like the black sheep of like Ratchet and Clank games, but I can't wait to get to that game because I like kind of love it for what it is.
Oh, me too. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. Because I have no experience with Deadlocked. I don't really have any experience with Up Your Arsenal either. I think I've seen like the cutscenes for some reason, but
Up Your Arsenal also has some very good lines in it that like I'm thinking about. That's like, it has furry Bill Clinton. How can you not love furry Bill Clinton?
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm again, echo chamber of this podcast. Crude Ratchet. much better. I wonder what the aversion to the crudeness is. Is it like I guess it's an image thing.
So with that might be part of it. Also, I do know that when they were making Tools of Destruction, that was the first game where they hired an actual writer to do like the lore and the plot and stuff. So I think at that point they were trying to take themselves more seriously and have like more of like a narrative based sort of like thing going on with like a serious like emotional like tone and impact and stuff. So I think that's sort of like when, I mean, that game still has like humor, but and like potty humor, but not like quite as rancid. I don't know,
rancid.
I don't know what
that is my favorite word. Rancid.
Did he just slide down a sewer pipe? That's sort of like literally rancid.
Yeah, I get that. I'm ready to jump into the game now. An hour and 30 minutes into this.
Yeah.
Let's start breaking down the campaign here.
Okay.
I'm looking at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This may be a two-parter.
Yeah.
This may be a two-parter because I don't want to rush this episode.
Mm-hmm.
If it ends up being 3 hours, it's a good thing it was the Ratchet and Clank episode.
Yeah.
Was 30 minutes of it dedicated to Naruto? Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe. But yeah. Okay, let's jump into the campaign here. So, first of all, I think now having not played the remake myself, I'm not sure like what all exactly was changed in the PS4 version, but I believe that I heard that the relationship between Ratchet and Clank was altered to be more friendly throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
So in the original, starting with Quark's planet, where Quark kind of like deceived them or whatever, their relationship becomes like much more
goes down the toilet.
Like Ratchet's kind of like at Clank's throat all the time and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of have, differing motives going forward. Like Ratchet is after Quark and then Clank is trying to save the galaxy still. And they're just kind of like, bickering all the time. How do you feel about that? Because that did not bother me in any way, but it seemed to have bothered them when it came to remaking it. So,
yeah. So as I can tell you that like playing it as a kid, I did not like seeing Ratchet being mean to Clank. It was like kind of like upsetting because there was sort of like this like a little bit of like dissonance of going between they're like at each other's throat in the cutscene, and then you go back into the game and Ratchet's just like standing there and like kind of smiling, and they're like working together, and like he's like using Clank as like a backpack, basically as like a gadget backpack thing.
Okay.
And that sort of like felt like weird and like off-putting to me, and like also like as a kid you're like why are they being mean to each other, why? And not really understanding that, well, it's because of the character motivations. And Ratchet is just a little immature and he's gonna grow out of it, and that's okay. Sort of a thing. And I think that was also like kind of the consensus back in the day where like people, playing the game for the first time were kind of like, man, Ratchet's like kind of a dick. Like why? And so the game does end on like a really sweet positive note though, where like because I don't know if you remember like in the last cutscene, but like where Clank saves Ratchet or so like Ratchet decides to do the right thing ultimately and is like, well, I have to protect my home and protect everybody else, whatever.
Right.
And so they defeat Drek. Clank saves Ratchet's life, and then like they fall, and like Clank has like the little busted arm, and Clank is like, oh, I guess I'll just like go my own way now. And Ratchet's like, hey, where you going? Like, we got to get your arm fixed. Like, come on. And then they like walk. It's so cute and like so sweet. And like, I think that like payoff makes everything else like worth it. But as a child, I didn't understand that or grasp that.
Oh man, I got to say real quick, as an adult playing this game, playing later games as well, I don't know why this thought even crossed my mind, but as they were going their separate ways, I'm like, oh man, do they really go their separate ways in this first game?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so sad.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was like even considering that, but I legitimately was like, wait, do they not like stay together at the end of the game?
Yeah. In the moment, you're like, no.
Yeah,
but that just shows that that matters to you, and that's good. Like that's a good like note to end on. So like as an adult, I am like 100%. I think that their relationship in this game is hands down the most interesting, and I still love Ratchet and Clank and their relationship in the later games. But I think from like making it an interesting story, I think they could have kept more conflict between them or something instead of like, we're just best buds and we get along. And like, that's great. Like, that's fine. I don't really have a problem with that. But I think there is a potential for like a more interesting story to tell, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I like, personally, I like the idea of a relationship starting off kind of rocky in this first game and then kind of improving with its later entries.
Right.
I feel like that's rewarding to like experience as opposed to it just like going great without a hitch right away. Yeah. I don't really like it. Never felt like it felt like exaggerated whenever they were like bickering and stuff. Like it never felt like they didn't like each other, or Ratchet didn't like Clank more specifically, but I was never like, oh man, this is weird. Like it's not like Ratchet's trying to kill Clank. It's like,
no,
it's like, yeah, let me just sell this useless dude for boulder. Yeah. It's like,
and he didn't like mean it.
I know like, it's like whatever. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't experience that as a kid because I'd never made it to that section of the game. But yeah, I enjoy the arc there. So how does the PS4 version work? They just don't get mad at each other starting with Quark?
So how it works, I think, is they're both naive idiots.
Okay.
So Clank's motivation in the PS2 game is we have to save the galaxy and we have to like go be heroes like Captain Quark, right? And Ratchet's like, I just want to like get off this like dirt pile of a planet and like go do my thing and like be a cool dude and like adventure and stuff. And then get like revenge and be like edgy that way. Whereas in the movie, I think it's like Clank is like a child experiencing the world for the first time because he came from like his like factory and like crash landed and he's like, here I am. I'm naive. I don't know anything. And Ratchet is also like, his whole thing is he's like, I want to be part of the Galactic Rangers, which is Quark's team, basically Quark's like Avengers sort of.
Oh,
like galactic superheroes. And he's like, I want to go be a ranger. And so he sort of like took Clank's motivation from the first game and it was just like implanted into Ratchet to make him less like grating, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's also less interesting. Just saying.
Yeah. So I have played like the opening segment of the remake again because it was just included with the PS5 thing. I did not finish it or go anywhere past like just a couple minutes into it because I'm like, I'll play this. Got distracted by one of the other 20 games that they threw at me whenever I got a PS5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember the Galactic Ranger part, or because that's the opening, right? He's in like a training course or something.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So how different is it? Like level, like does it follow all the same beats roughly? Like they're going to this planet, this planet, this planet. Is it?
Kind of, yes, okay. But some of the climates and some of the aesthetics of some of the planets have been changed. So like, you know how I think it's Battaglia, the planet where it's like raining and there's like the tanks and there's the Vietnam soldier guys there.
Oh yeah.
Like, you need to go get that intel now. Like that sort of like thing going on. That is a snowy planet in the remake. Actually, which is like interesting and different that they like changed the environment for some reason. And there's, like different, like, I think Quark is like less evil, maybe if I'm remembering right. And also,
yeah, Quark was like straight up kind of, he was meant to be like a little bit of like a satirical, like a front, like he's putting on this front, but he's really just like a dick the whole time.
You know what Quark is? He's the boys before the boys came out.
He is, isn't he?
Whereas, like, okay, if there was a superhero in real life, they would be an insufferable asshole, like Quark is. And like,
is Quark a superhero though? Like,
yeah,
but he's like a superhero. But does he have like superpowers?
He just does heroic things. I don't think he's like. I mean, he's like strong, but not like he's just a buff meathead kind of a guy. Yeah. They actually they go over his backstory more in Up Your Arsenal, and it's kind of hilarious. But
okay,
we'll get to that eventually. Yeah. So in the movie, it was you had Drek as a villain, but you also had Dr. Nefarious with him. I don't know if you know who Dr. Nefarious is.
Yes, because he's the main villain throughout. Wait, is he the main villain in Tools of Destruction and Crack in Time?
He is in Crack. He's one of the villains in Crack in Time.
One of the villains in Crack in Time.
Yeah, and he's like
also the main villain of Rift Apart.
In Rift Apart, yes, because he is like Insomniac's most successful. Like they like hit him on the head, hit the nail on the head conceptually, and they were like, oh, we were like onto like some sort of like gold here with Dr. Nefarious.
Yeah, he's good.
No, he's very enjoyable as a character. Very good.
I like that he's not always the villain.
Mhm.
He's just mostly always the villain.
Yes, yes.
It's a good balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so Quark and Drek in this game are like the villains. Quark, did you do the segment on the planet where they take Clank away from you and you find Quark at like a shitty Gadgetron stand in the middle of nowhere?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
So let's get into this aspect of the game. How do you feel about the game's like underlying critique of like capitalism, consumerism, and other political topics like climate change and stuff?
Live for it. It is everything to me. Yeah. No, I think it's especially Drek's whole like, I think he has like a speech that he gives to like the residents of a planet, and he's like, oh yeah, we need a chunk of your planet, and unfortunately that means that your planet, when we take the chunk out, it's going to like spin out of control and like explode in a flaming ball of gas, I think is what he says. And it's like, sorry, like
it's so good. Like Drek is like, so it is like a neglect for like the environment from him.
Yes.
But it's also like the planned obsolescence of like, yeah, this planet that we just made is going to be bad eventually, and then we'll just make a new one. Like it's like,
yes,
it's like looking into the future of like, but also still like they're never making like permanent solutions. They're just like making money.
Exactly, because capitalism.
Yeah. It's funny. And then Quark's aspect of it of just being like a complete shill for just, like this meaningless, or like he has no like real morals or anything like that.
Yeah,
that's good too.
He's there for the fame and the paycheck, and it's
good.
Another thing that I like that the game, in terms of like world building, I love that like you get to go, the green, or it's called Orxon, like the green like sludgy hostile planet where you have to wear the gas mask because you can't breathe the air anymore. That is Drek's home planet. Like that is the planet they just trashed and had to abandon.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I like that you get to see like the result of like, if you let the Blarg do what they're going to do, this is going to be every planet. And it's like, that's shitty.
I mean, like, is this a kid's, like, what is the target like age specifically you think for like a Ratchet and Clank game? Like preteen to teenager, like early teenager? For
the first 3 games, yeah, definitely that. For the like Tools of Destruction onward is probably like 10-year-olds and up.
Did the topics like reach you as a kid? Like,
no, I don't think so.
I don't think they did either. I think I kind of like got that it was like, oh, Quark's a liar or something like that. It was probably like my only takeaway or something. But yeah, I don't think the climate change aspect, the capitalism aspect really spoke to me. I guess I understood like bad businessman or something. But yeah.
I also think I understood like, because there is, I think when you're introduced to Drek, do you remember the cutscene where he's like talking and then he like he doesn't know that the camera hasn't cut yet. And he's like, well, turn it off, you idiot. And I'm like, oh, he's a dick. Okay, got it.
I wonder what like the best, like, it's very appropriate. Like this is the time to start flirting around with like parody and like poking fun at like political things, around 10 plus years old, I guess. So I guess it's appropriate. It's not like Astrobot is discussing the Russia-Ukraine war or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do you feel? We've already kind of touched on this, but do you feel like Drek was a compelling villain? Like, how does he stack up in your head against like Dr. Nefarious or someone like that?
I think conceptually he's good. I think he's the only thing that I think he lacks that Dr. Nefarious benefits from is getting to interface with the heroes directly. So like Drek is like established as the villain immediately, and you like Ratchet and Clank don't get to interact with him until like way later. Like I don't even remember when the first time they actually like interact with him is. It might be the boss fight.
It feels like it takes a while for Drek to even acknowledge Ratchet and Clank.
Right.
Which is kind of another slightly weird aspect of it, I guess.
Yeah. But as a villain, I like how Drek is like a parody of the evil corporate CEO. who's doing terrible things and, looking into the camera and telling you about it with a smile.
Yes, yeah. I like Drake too. I think he's a perfectly, he's an above average villain, I feel like. I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think some of the stuff that you said, like his presence in the game interfacing with Ratchet and Clank probably could have helped him feel like a more present threat.
Yeah.
But yeah. How do you feel like the game flows from a story perspective, like going planet to planet, beat to beat and stuff? Because I feel like that was maybe a weaker aspect of it. It did feel like, and this is how most games are made, where it's we made the worlds. Now let's figure out how they move between them or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The formula of because it basically every planet follows the same sort of template where it's we show up at the planet, we go through the obstacle course, we get the infobot. The infobot plays a cutscene for us that establishes the next planet. And then we have some interaction between the heroes that are reacting to whatever the infobot had to say, and then we move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of predictable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have
I feel from a storytelling perspective, it's not super engaging, but
it's not bad.
It's gameplay focused. It's not it's suitable.
Right. It's not trying to be anything complicated to begin with. So I think I think it's perfectly functional and fine. And the game does throw you some curveballs, I guess, we get to Oltanis and then Clank gets struck by lightning and it's well, can't have Clank. And then that's this is different. Yeah. Or you go to Umbrus and do Quark's obstacle course and then Quark betrays you and it's well, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that.
My only gripe with the infobots, to go back to that real quick, is I feel it would have been preferable to have actual people there that you interact with more so than infobots, because then you get the interaction between Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that, as opposed to them watching something and then briefly commenting on it or something.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Anything else you want to add to this campaign section?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So I guess let's take a break. We're back from our break. I'm coming in with a cup of coffee. Morgan's got a cup of wine.
A cup. Yeah, not a glass.
I guess that's a better way to refer to it.
Yeah.
So on to the mechanics. I can't remember what exactly changes with the lock-on function in the second game. I know it's an improvement, but I don't know exactly what changed.
Yeah, basically in this game, you kind of only get a visual indicator of, I think you only get a visual indicator of whether or not something has locked on when you're looking down sights.
I think it does pop.
For the blaster? Does it pop up?
I can't remember.
I know there's a guide for the bomb glove that shows up on the ground. And that's a main
I think it does
staple.
pop up for the blaster.
Yeah, a little green circle will show up.
Yeah, I think it might.
It's just, so in the next game, it's more that visual feedback is just more consistent because there's some weapons in this game that I don't think really give any feedback.
I mean, I was pretty heavily reliant on the flamethrower early in the game, and then the Tesla cannon later into the game.
You don't really have to. It's a spray and pray sort of a situation.
It suits the mechanics that are in the game better because you don't gotta aim. And
right.
I feel it's a major detriment to this game. The whole it is way more reliant on the first person aiming than I remembered. I don't think I ever did that as a kid, but playing it now, I'm I was first person aiming all the time so I could actually shoot stuff, especially flying enemies because they are slightly out of the way.
Yeah. Well, and also one of the strategies that I think becomes powerful, but maybe not the most engaging thing ever is to use the Visibomb gun. Did you get the Visibomb gun? Yeah. And just stand in a corner and just send out the bombs, the Visibombs, which are these little airplanes that explode when you run into something. Or I think you can detonate them manually also, but just setting up in a corner and sending out bomb after bomb and then walking through the empty corridor or whatever after you've cleared it out.
Oh yeah. I mean that was probably, I got that later into the game. It was one of my later purchases, but I used it the entire time that I had it. I would just clear out any of the tanks, especially any of the helicopter dudes, because it would destroy stuff in one shot.
It's also very powerful, but completely useless during the boss fight.
Yeah, useless during boss fight. So
Yeah.
And I don't think that you unlock it until it was like fairly affordable. I think it was like 15 and then discounted to 10. So
Yeah.
one of the more expensive, but yeah. It was one of my later pickups, but I thought it was great.
Mhm.
What are your like go-to set of weapons for this first game?
Actually, so like for the early game, I actually use the wrench a lot just because if you have like a good sense of like enemy movement and like there are patterns and everything, it's very easy to just like hop around them and then like smack them a couple times and then kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Later game, I use so early game, I also use the pyrocitor or like the flamethrower or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And the pyrocitor is really really handy for that objective where you have to get rid of the sand sharks to get the hoverboard.
It's just
Super handy there.
super useful for the like the little baby enemies.
Yeah, for
that just swarm you.
swarmers. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But then later I would mainly use like the Devastator, which is the rocket launcher type thing,
Mhm.
and mostly alternate between Devastator, Visibomb, and I mean the blaster sometimes. I don't know.
Mhm. Is there any like golden gun that you particularly like? Because they do change the mechanics of the guns slightly.
You know, I never really focused on because by the time I got the golden guns, I also had the rhino, so I would just use the rhino.
That's a good point. Oh my gosh, I just realized I never looked up what the rhino in this game was like.
Oh,
I meant to do that.
you know, I mean it's powerful. But yeah, go ahead and look at what that does.
So just a lot of homing missiles?
Yeah, yeah. Kind of has a slow rate of fire. Like you kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you press the fire button, they like shoot out, and you kind of have to wait for them to like home around and like explode.
Mhm. I'm not familiar with every rhino and every Ratchet and Clank, but I really enjoyed the Crack in Time rhino that plays Beethoven's Fifth Symphony or whatever it is.
I don't think it's Beethoven. I actually think it might be a Tchaikovsky. I think
Oh,
whatever
yeah, I think you're
Tchaikovsky
right.
one where it has like the firing cannon like in
Mhm.
the in the
Mhm.
sheet music. I think it's that one.
That one's good. That's a good one because it's like
Yes.
a barrage of bullets and like rockets. It's just like a crazy gun.
It definitely has a lot of showmanship. All of the rhinos have like a good visual sort of effect with them to where it's like
Mhm.
I feel like powerful using this, and that's part of the fun, I think.
How do you feel about the Rift Apart rhino, the wormhole dude?
Oh, was that sorry, Rift Apart? I played it once and that was like a long time ago. So that
That was the one that like opened a wormhole and then you'd get like the Easter eggs from different PlayStation games and stuff.
I'm not remembering the visual effect. However, there is a gun that it is sort of like similar to called the Rift Inducer. It's fine, I think. I mean, I thought I liked the references. I thought that was a cute touch.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
I it's fitting for that game, certainly.
Yeah. For the sake of like pure like utility though, I think my favorite Rhino is actually the Rhino 2.
Okay.
Or the Rhino
So
4. The Rhino 4 is pretty good.
I think that I did get to that point in Tools of Destruction, but I don't know if I remember it.
So I just confirmed that the Rhino 5, when you fire it, it plays the 1812 Overture, which is by Tchaikovsky. But yeah,
Okay.
I just wanted to confirm.
Did Quest for Booty not have a rhino
No,
then?
it didn't.
Okay.
As far as I know.
So Deadlock didn't have a rhino.
Deadlocked had the Harbinger.
Okay.
Which is basically that game's version of the rhino. It's just like in universe, not branded as a rhino.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, for me, my weapons that I like the most, I really liked a lot of the gloves. I liked Glove of Doom.
They're so cute.
Yeah, they're funny. And they get big whenever you get golden with it.
Yeah.
Because that one's good. I loved the drones. That was technically a glove, but you kind of just like activate it.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it a glove? I don't even remember. But my strategy was always to like, especially for the stuff where I knew I was going to have to like aim at like enemies kind of like slightly above the horizon because it just like struggles to lock on if it's like not on your plane, I felt like, without aiming down sights. And I would just activate the drones and they would just like block the shots for me so I could just like aim at them without getting hit. So that was kind of what I did. I felt like I was fighting the camera pretty often. It does this thing where it like tries to take control away from you pretty frequently. based off of like where you are and I don't know how you're moving, which is not as much of a thing in the later games, but still early on in, 2 control sticks controlling camera movement at the same time. So it's not like the worst. It's definitely not the worst of these like early 3D platformers with camera control, but noticeable enough to kind of get in the way. Did it bother you at all?
The camera, well, I mean, at this point, see, that's like something that's hard for me to give feedback on because I'm so like used to it that I don't even, like camera weirdness does not even like sink into me. It's just all muscle memory when I play.
I get that. One thing that I did want to point out, I think we should make a point. This should be like a little segment on every episode where it's applicable. We need to just point out every game that makes use of pressure-sensitive face buttons. And this game is one of them. I don't know if you remember where it is.
I already read your note, so I spoiled
it. Okay, it's with the swimming.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that, I don't think.
Yeah, you can swim faster up and down by pressing the button harder. Neat,
Yeah. It's probably well suited for that the flood section in Blackwater City where you're like, oh, I gotta get up, I'm running out of air.
I feel like these pressure sensitive face buttons, like they make sense, on paper, because for racing games and stuff, you want to like press the gas harder and stuff, and then they're like, oh wait, what if we did that on the triggers instead? And then it was like, oh, well, then these pressure-sensitive face buttons are kind of useless.
They're not getting used.
Yeah. I would love to find a game that is not a racing game that makes like some creative use of this feature on the PlayStation 2. We'll see. After we play every game, I guess we can maybe have an episode where we discuss best uses.
Did you ever use the sand mouse helmet? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that completely.
Yeah.
I used it because, like, I think I used it right when you get it. And then never again.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's, like, kind of cool, but it's also not, like, super useful because, like, he doesn't do a lot of damage. So it's, like, kind of neat where it's, like, you reward players for, like, paying attention to the environment and seeing, like, the little sand mouse house out in the world and be like, oh, gotta put on my helmet and make him come out, help. But then he's not that useful. So I just kind of ignore it.
That was like so unused. I did have a section here where we can talk about our least used weapons. And that was so unused that I forgot it existed.
Okay.
But that and like the taunt gun, I never really found a use for other than glitching bolts.
Yeah, you can use it to. So if there's like a barrier separating you and an enemy, you can use it to make them come run into it. Other than that, it doesn't. It has so few like uses that it's not really worth it. Aside from the infinite bolt thing.
Do you think you could use that in the Robo Planet where there's those barriers?
Probably not. So not the robot factory. Because the game wants you to use the hollow guys,
right?
The robot disguise, to make the barriers come down. And I don't think you can use the taunter to kill the robot to make the barrier come down. It is probably useful for. Do you remember the Drex fleet, like one of the last levels where you had to go on like different ships and stuff? There's like lasers in there in like some of those rooms that I think you could use the taunter to like make them
for the dogs.
Yeah.
I think so. The thing with the dogs was that they would recognize you no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. I wasn't sure if I was just like doing the hollow guys thing poorly.
No. I mean, it's kind of weird how they don't like them being pissed off doesn't like alert the robot guards.
Yeah.
But they're just kind of like another obstacle in the room where it's like, okay, well, I have to deal with the dogs before I can like run in there and deal with the robots, which you could just use, like, I would just use like the glove of doom for that and just like throw the glove in, back out, let the explosions happen and then come back in and be like, oh, what happened? I don't know.
Yeah, I've Visigunned my way through, or Visibomb or whatever it is. I just used the homing rocket to get through most of those on the robot factory and wherever I could manage on the Drex fleet. Because it kind of lets you skip some of the sections where it's like, oh, you got to wait for them to turn around so you can jump over this platform, and then you got to switch back. And I would just shoot them. So
yeah, in that way it's like kind of overpowered and like a little busted because it's kind of like ruining the developer intended like challenge of the level, which is interesting.
I think it's nice that they just allow you to break the game because it's like,
yeah,
it's something that you gotta grind a little bit to get, and it opens up like another play style. It probably lets you feel pretty clever too as the player. Like, oh, I just bypassed this because I knew how to use this gun and this to get past this thing. Yeah. So I think it's nice. The morph gun was something that I hardly ever touched as well. You just receive that one, right? You don't pay for it, I think.
Yeah, you have to go through an optional section of Ultanis. I don't remember the actual like because there's like every level has like here's the name of the location and here's the name of the planet.
Right, so it's hard to remember.
Yeah, I remember Ultanis, but I don't remember the actual like city name or whatever.
Was that the one where it was all rainy?
Yeah,
swing shot.
Yeah, and no Clank because he's
Clank.
Lightning magnet.
Just like Zelda.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did it before Zelda did. Yeah.
What can I say? Is that you don't buy that one from Steve, do you?
No, from Steve you get the quote unquote Steve McQuark. You get the PDA, and Ratchet's like public display of affection, and it is a personal.
Oh, it lets you just buy bolts wherever, right?
Buy ammo, yeah. But at a higher price for shipping.
Oh, that's
for shipping costs.
That's funny, but that's a little dumb.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that's in case you needed to like. I mean, that opens a door for you to like maybe cheese something. With the Visigun, you just kind of hang out and buy ammo.
That or the boss fight, which I don't know if you had a section for the boss fight, but the boss fight's kind of hard.
Oh yeah, I did later. So I struggled with it as well because it's like kind of an elongated. I don't know.
There's phases.
Fight, yeah. There's multiple phases, and you only get a checkpoint after the first phase, which takes basically zero effort, where you're just Big Clank smacking them a bunch. And then you get one checkpoint, and then you got to go through like 3 phases with some mini phases in between on that last phase. Yeah, and it's pretty long. There's only like I think a couple, like 2 health packs throughout that whole thing.
Yeah, it's kind of intense. Yeah.
It took me a couple tries. I had to walk away and come back to it. So
yeah. There's also so between each phase, so like as you fight him and the phase ends, he'll like destroy the arena that you're in, and you have to. There's like a platforming challenge between each phase, so you could die there. You could just die because there's no health packs, and some of his attacks are kind of hard to dodge. And not this time around. This time around was fine, but I know like in the past, I've had situations where I was completely out of all of my ammo. I think I was like low on bolts for some reason too, so I didn't want to use the PDA too much, and I ended up having to use the suck cannon and wait for certain attacks where he sends out the mines or where he sends out the little like Gadgetbot guys, little dinosaur looking dudes. Yeah. And I'd have to wait for those phases to suck them up and then shoot him with his own thing. And that was like required a lot of dodging, and like it was stressful. It was sweaty.
That's probably intentional, right? The suck cannons, you get that for free.
Yeah. It's so you don't get to the very end and like have no way to damage him, probably.
Because other than that, your only long range attack is just throwing your wrench, which
and that's not going to work very well.
Yeah, it leaves you firmly planted on the ground. Yeah. So there's that, the suck cannon, and the Walloper, right?
Yeah.
The boxing glove one. I enjoyed the Walloper. That was fun because I just liked smashing through people, and no ammo cost, which was nice.
Right.
Was there any other one that had no ammo cost?
Taunter and Morph Gun. And well, I guess
and Morph Gun.
Technically the suck cannon doesn't have, I mean, as long as you have things to suck up. Right, the suck cannon
doesn't. Yeah. It's cool. Do you have like an absolute favorite gun from the game?
The Rhino.
Okay. Besides the Rhino.
Conceptually, probably Glove of Doom, because little guys are so cute.
That one in like most of the Ratchet games? It feels like a very like, oh, okay.
It's not.
So it's in this first one and it's in Rift Apart.
And it's in Up Your Arsenal. It comes back.
Okay. I wonder, like, of all of the Ratchet and Clank guns, if there's one that's like most frequent.
Oh, let me think. There's a pistol called the Combustor, I think, that is in a few games, maybe. I mean, the Rhino, kind of, but it's kind of a different gun every single time. There's usually a bomb glove.
Yeah, there is, I think, always a bomb glove, it feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, the Devastator? That was its name, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's in Rift Apart as well, isn't it?
I don't remember.
Turns into the Warmonger.
Oh, I think that's the Negotiator.
Oh, okay.
Which is a different rocket launcher. No, the Negotiator.
Buzzblades?
Oh yeah, Buzzblades. Buzzblades is in quite a few games. That's a PS3 era. Negotiator is PS3 era, and that was in quite a few games.
I think my absolute favorite gun is probably the Tesla cannon, which feels like a cop-out answer because it's like the last gun besides the Rhino that you unlock, and it's just like super easy to use. Just kind of run around and hold the button, kill everything.
Yeah. Yeah, for just straight up utility, I mean, the Blaster has a lot of utility.
Blaster's real good.
The Devastator does have, like, even without like a visual indicator, it does like have some like homing ability. Like if you shoot in the general direction, the Devastator can like figure it out. It's
also got a longer range than the Blaster.
It does.
So that makes it pretty useful. Okay, one thing that I wanted to discuss in the mechanics section was the like weapon swapping. And I felt like it was very clunky in this game. Like I didn't like that you can't like, so you can pause and go to the pause menu and like change your weapons and stuff. There was a weird glitch that I had. I don't know if it's because of like the way I was playing it that this thing was happening, but if I like ever tried to like switch to one gun and then I was like, oh wait, actually I want to switch to another gun. Sometimes it like wouldn't switch, like the switch wouldn't take. I don't know. Like it wasn't very consistent. I don't know if that's something that happens when playing the disc-based version of the game as well, or if it's throughout all the versions, but that was something that I noticed for my particular setup.
When you say the switch wouldn't take, like you would bring up like the wheel and like select, okay, interesting.
No, like go into the pause menu, like select it, Ratchet's now holding it, and then I go back to the game and he's not holding it. He's holding the gun I was on before.
I've never had that happen.
I don't know if it's because I'm playing it off of like a hard drive on the PS2 or what, because sometimes there's like minor issues running games that way. So it's hard to know for sure. But the quick select doesn't pause or slow down the game at all, which I think would solve a lot of my complaints. Also, it's like, it feels pretty limiting. Like I wanted a larger wheel or multiple wheels, which is something the later games do, because I don't know, it felt like too many clicks to go into the menu to like change my stuff. I got kind of used to it, but I would have preferred to have like a wheel where I just have to hold triangle, move the stick, and then I have what I want.
Did you customize your quick select menu at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what I ended up with. I tried to keep all my most used stuff on it, but I think the main issue was switching to the gadgets was like the most annoying part.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those could have just been contextual too.
Yeah.
Like the trespasser,
right.
The hydro displacer, stuff like that. It should have just been me walking up to the section where I use that thing and then
being able to pull it out. Yeah.
Yeah, not have to go into my menu and whip out this big water cannon and slap it down.
Right, which is interesting because it does that with Clank's hydro pack.
Right.
Like the speed to speed up.
It does it with like your boots and stuff too. I mean, like you don't have to equip the magnet boots or anything like that.
Right.
So some stuff is contextual, which is just all the more reason that this should have also been like just a button prompt essentially. So yeah, I mean that's a minor gripe, I guess. I would have liked to see the D-pad better utilized as well. Right now it's just for movement because we're in this weird period where 3D games are still kind of like, oh, some people might want to use the D-pad, which maybe that was more common at the time, but obviously us from like a modern perspective, we're just used to using analog sticks for 3D games. So I feel like using that for just like a quick select of like 4 different weapons would have been nice too. Like you don't have to go into a menu, you just press up, down, left or right to get like one of 4 weapons. Would have been neat. Yeah, so that bothered me. I don't know if it was a big deal for you or not.
No, I would just so when I would like get to a planet, I would already know like what certain things I would need. So I would just like customize my quick select for the planet and then just run off and start doing whatever.
I like didn't put any gadgets on my quick select, and I always just was like, well, I guess I'll just go into the gadget menu whenever I need to use it.
Yeah, the only one that would stay on my quick select was the swing shot. Slingshot? Swing shot.
Swing shot.
Swing
it
shot.
Is swing shot. Yeah.
I used to say slingshot when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, am I remembering this wrong or am I? Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to remember the names of all the guns and planets. And yeah. But I want to talk about the hoverboard section real quick because I completed all of these without realizing that there was like a built-in, like a tricks to boost thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, these are hard. Because I was just like barely able to get first place in any of them after like many tries.
Wait, it took me like your first like attempts through the race, or I'm confused.
Yeah, so I couldn't get like Blackwater City did not take as many attempts. It was killer on the Vita because of the tiny thumbsticks, but
I bet, yeah.
I was just like constantly like flinging myself off the edge and hitting like explosive crates and stuff like that. But the second hoverboard race, I spent quite a while on because I did not know about doing tricks providing boost.
Yeah. For that one, you have to stock up on the rocket shots and then also and take the shortcut.
And take the shortcuts. There's 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know about that because you can't get the second one unless you know how to get some boost. Like
yeah.
So
after you get so the gadget that lets you build up boost is called the Platinum Zoomerator, and after you get it, there is like a short tutorial where like the help desk lady will like tell you like, hey, by the way, if you do tricks, it'll build up your boost. So maybe you just like missed that or skipped.
Did you not have the boost thing for Blackwater City?
No. That's where you win it. You can beat that race without it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that's like the grand prize for winning.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just the one right through my brain, I guess.
Speaking of Blackwater City, do you know about the Easter egg?
Yeah, so I don't know where I stuck this in this. I put it in under characters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So let's just get to that now. I think you were the first person to show me this. So I'll let you explain it.
All right. So in Blackwater City, in the plaza where you can enter into the hoverboard race, there is a, what would you call
buxom alien?
Sure, buxom alien. She's an alien lady in like a purple jumpsuit type thing, and she's like the host or whatever for like the race. And so when you're controlling Ratchet, you can squat. And while squatting, you can hit X and pick a direction with the left analog stick, and Ratchet will do like a sideways flip in that direction. And basically, so if you go to this lady and like squat in front of her and start flipping back and forth, her boobs will inflate and get larger and larger and more jiggly. And that's just in the game.
It is in the game. So we have this weird thing where there is, in all of our top games for the PS2 right now, there is some to some extent, some boobage happening.
Yeah.
Like Haunting Ground, a lot of boobage happening in Haunting Ground.
Right.
Ashley on the PlayStation 2, or on Resident Evil 2 on the PlayStation 2 specifically, it's got some mad jiggle physics for the PlayStation 2 specifically for some reason. Wait, no. I cannot remember. It might have, I already forgot. One platform of this generation specifically did not have jiggle physics. It might have been the PlayStation.
I think,
anyway,
maybe.
Jack and Daxter with Kira and the other lady.
Carmelita in Sly kind of has
Carmelita.
Big boobs.
Kind of got some boobage happening.
Right.
I put it in there as a glitch, like a boob glitch, and I'm like, wait, no, this is definitely intentional,
yes.
I guess. This would be a very strange thing to be a glitch. Like, oh man.
Yeah, that is
what went wrong in the code?
A developer Easter egg, which they mentioned this in no, I don't actually know if they mentioned that in the developer playthrough of Going Commando. Or if I like heard this somewhere else. But when you are publishing a game, or like, finalizing a game, you have to list out all the Easter eggs you put in the game. I guess so that they can like make sure that it's like rated appropriately. And that there won't be like any nasty surprises for the consumer base. But so this game is rated T for teens, so I guess big inflatable boobs are okay for teenagers.
Yeah. I mean, probably.
Yeah.
That's probably not enough for an M rating. But I believe that the way the ESRB system works is you tell them the stuff that's in the game. Like you're like, here's like the worst stuff in the game based off of your guidelines. Like, here's what you're probably most concerned about. And then I think they give you the rating based off that. And if they find out that you like didn't submit something that was important, you can get fined or something.
Ooh.
So yeah, it's not like trickery most of the time.
Yeah.
But we will get into probably some major ESRB related shenanigans when we get to GTA San Andreas with their weird sex mini game that they left in.
Oh.
But yeah, so strange. When did you find out about that? I assume in an internet time period.
Yeah, there was a period later, probably when I was around like 13 and like junior high school era, where I would look up like cheat codes. And glitches and exploits and things like that. Yeah, so it was definitely then when I figured it out. Or like when I saw it, I was like, holy crap.
Are there any other like notable glitches, or not glitches, cheat codes for Ratchet and Clank? I saw that there was a lot of big head modes and maybe infinite ammo or infinite health. I don't really remember.
I don't think so. I think the cheats that you get might be tied. Are they tied to skill point?
I think they might. There might be something like that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I know they are in the second and third. Well, maybe not the third. No, they are. They are in the third game tied to skill points.
Well, anyway, it's not super notable, I guess, because neither of us really remember anything. Okay, so I have another gripe related to like the bolt economy in the game.
Yeah.
I feel like the concept of like the paywalls to progress, like you got to pay for this info bot or you got to pay for these boots or this upgrade to Clank, was like kind of counterintuitive to like playing. Like it kind of forced me to play in a way that I don't think the developers necessarily would have wanted, where I was hoarding bolts and not buying guns.
Right.
Because I didn't know if I was going to come up to like a 2,000 bolt little toll or something. So I wouldn't like go out of my way to buy the new guns whenever I would get to the new planets. I feel like having them be for guns and progression was just a mistake. But.
Yeah. I was going to say from a design perspective, I don't really understand why they wanted to do the bolt paywall thing. And I'm going to go ahead and just say it now that the second game is the most egregious offender of the bolt paywall thing. And then I think they kind of like got rid of it by Up Your Arsenal, I'm pretty sure. I'm not remembering any paywalls in that one.
I wonder how much of it is just padding. Like they wanted the game to take longer to complete.
I don't know, because like when I play now, like the paywalls don't ever like
yeah.
Like like usually I have the bolts on hand. Like I've never had to be like, oh shoot, I gotta go back and like grind some more somewhere. It's just like an annoyance because it just drains your bank account and keeps you from moving on to new weapons, which sucks because that's like where the fun comes from, right?
I know, yeah, that's what they should be like encouraging you to do almost. So yeah, I felt like that was strange, especially for the Rhino. What does the Rhino cost? Like
$150,000.
I feel like there was probably a better way to unlock the Rhino. It's kind of novel that it's like just this crazy expensive gun, but
I think the Rhino is, and this is I think the case for the first 3 games. I don't really remember about Deadlocked so much, but the Rhino is definitely, I think, intended as a new game plus weapon because by the end, without like doing any grinding or exploits, there's like no way you're going to have $150,000 left over after your first playthrough. And then in the second game, they upped it to $1 million. And it's like not impossible, but really hard to come up with $1 million without, doing like grinding for hours and hours. So
it kind of like created this kind of like elusive thing in my head where it's like this gun that is like, oh my God, how great must this gun be? Like the thought of it was almost more entertaining than what it actually could have been.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh my God, I'll never be able to afford that.
And I will say, I don't know if you remember this from playing the PS3 games at all, but they did change it to you don't have to buy it anymore. You have to find these like hidden design plans. And once you assemble like the whole blueprint, then you get the gun.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So they take out the need to like save up a ton of bolts for it. Sort of.
I mean, it definitely should be like a late game thing, but I think tying it to maybe a different set of collectibles like that or some challenge related thing is probably preferable to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because even by the end of the game, I felt like I was only barely able to like get all of the guns. So I get that it's like a new game plus thing though. So, but yeah, that plus the golden weapons, it's like, man, you could play this game for you'd be grinding this game for quite a while. It seems like to 100% it.
Yeah, multiple playthroughs.
I tossed the idea out to you that I was like, maybe I'll get the platinum trophy in this game, and that probably definitely would have not happened if I had actually tried it. But yeah, I think that's all I have for mechanics.
Okay. The only thing I think I wanted to touch on before we moved on was the new game plus. And basically I just wanted to cover like how it works. So after you beat the boss fight, the game will prompt you and basically say, hey, do you want to time warp back before you beat the boss, or do you want to start a new playthrough? And when you start a new playthrough, you get to keep all of your bolts, all of your weapons, but I think they take your gadgets away from you again.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess, because they'd have this like Metroidvania sort of setup where you have to go someplace and then come back to it. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
I only played it for like that first intro section. And then I was like, all right.
And I don't know if you noticed, but on your on your new game plus playthrough, they do sort of like jack up the bolt economy a little bit. So you do earn bolts faster. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not as much of a slog to like get to save up money. Like you just naturally accumulate more. And we'll get to see when we move on to going commando and up your arsenal and stuff, we'll get to see how New Game Plus has even evolved over time and I think become more interesting and more like fun. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Touch on the level design, which I already kind of brought up, with its sort of Metroidvania like progression system. It does act in like a very, for the most part, very linear way. The process of like going to a new planet and like exploring the 2 to 3 different paths to get like key items and info bots pretty much always leads you in the same direction. I think there's one part in the game where it kind of branches off and there's like 2 planets you can go to now, but you kind of just have to like go around and then come back to the gas planet with the oxygen mask and stuff. It's like mostly linear and like all of your objectives are very clearly laid out on the side of every planet. So you don't have to like wonder where to go with your new gadgets and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm curious if as a kid you remember getting stuck at any point or getting lost.
No, I don't think so.
I definitely did. And I don't know where, but I got stuck at Blackwater City, but I also remember being stuck at like the Sand Shark area.
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, like having to go back there and kill them all. Like maybe you didn't understand that was like something like you had to do that to get the hoverboard to progress.
I really don't know what was confusing me because going back to it, I'm like, this is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Younger Clayton. I don't know what I was struggling with, but
now the Blackwater City hang up, I do understand just because like I've mentioned the flood section several times where basically what happens is you like get locked in this tunnel. The game locks you in this tunnel and then it starts to like the water level starts to rise and you have to run through this obstacle course and get out before you drown kind of. Very anxiety inducing, by the way.
Otherwise you drown.
Yeah. It's that was like my least favorite part of the game as a kid just because that like stressed me out so bad and it's like kind of difficult for like
it is actually, there's like a very slim margin of error, it feels like.
Yeah, for that chunk, definitely. Yeah. Umbrus is also kind of difficult for like a little kid.
Umbrus is the
cork, where you have to
Cork
fight
planet.
in like the lava pit with the
because the checkpoint is, I think, a little stingy on that one too.
Yep.
Like,
well, and you have all those like turrets and mines, and you have a ton of crap to like dodge, and yeah,
that one's a little rough. I think that I liked that stood out. The Rising Water stood out to me as like one of my favorite sections of the different levels.
Okay,
I thought it was fun. Just a little speed running section, I guess. But that and the water slide on Novalis, the second planet, or the first, I don't know, second planet. Yeah. Where you go meet the plumber and then you like slide down. Love that part. Yeah. Big fan as a kid. I'm pretty sure I would just like go back up to the top of the water slide all the time and just slide down it.
That's nice.
And I love the swing shot sections on the ruined city planet, Atlas, I think it was the planet. Or something like that. Altanus. Yeah. I really liked that. And like aesthetically, I like the resort planet as well.
Yeah, as a kid, Jawai Resort was hands down my favorite, just because it's like, here, have this whole ocean to swim in, and I'm like, hell yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else stand out to you as like being like, oh man, this was awesome, or this sucks?
I'm thinking as a kid, like I already mentioned, I didn't like the water rising section of Blackwater City, but I loved the hoverboard racing so much. You know what? I liked the grind rail sections.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Those are fun.
There's the one on the Gadgetron planet.
Yeah, that's like what I was thinking of.
That's probably like the most advanced one, I think. It's kind of like the crescendo of the grind rail sections, I guess.
Yeah.
Bunch of branching paths and stuff. Does hoverboarding come back in later games?
I'm thinking, no. Well, so there is a version of hoverboarding that reappears in Ratchet and Clank Size Matters, but it's not the same.
Okay.
There is a racing minigame in Ratchet and Clank 2, and there is not one in Ratchet and Clank 3. There's some kind of racing-esque minigames in Deadlocked. Yeah, I think that's it.
I think that hoverboarding legitimately could have been like a bigger part of Ratchet's like whole persona stuff. Like that could have been like part of his identity, I think. Maybe grind rails makes more sense though. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, in like a lot of like the marketing or the at least the greatest hits version of the game came with a poster, and it was a picture of Ratchet on a grind rail, looking all intense and angry. But yeah, I think the grind rails are definitely more of a mainstay than hoverboarding is.
Golden bolts. I was gonna say, like, were you able to like? Was this something that you were tracking down as a kid before, like having like a?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So how I mentioned that when I started out as a young gamer, I was not doing most of the playing. I was just watching my dad.
A little gamer.
Yeah, a little gamer. I was watching my dad do the actual playing. And it took us literal years to figure out bolt locations and skill points, because all we had was dial-up internet. So if you wanted, to like look up a game FAQ or whatever, or like a guide about something like that, you would have to sit there for 15 minutes or however long it took to like connect and get the page to load. And so we would just sort of like slog through it on our own. Some of them we never figured out.
What are some that were like do you have any that you like remember like as like an aha sort of moment, or like ones that evaded you for a long time?
There's one on Orxon where you can see the bolt and it's like up on a platform, and there's like a circular weird looking like panel in the wall behind it, and you have to use the Visibomb gun to blow up the walls. And the tunnel, it like as you blow up the walls behind the bolt, it like reveals this winding tunnel that spits you out somewhere totally different in the level. And that one is like kind of a nightmare. There's also on the Gadgetron planet Kalibo 3, when you ride the grind rail and go see the help desk lady in person, off the edge of the platform, which in like some like random side of the platform that you like wouldn't really think to jump off of, you go down there. There's a teleporter that will teleport you to a completely otherwise inaccessible room that has a bolt and a bunch of chickens in it. And that one took forever.
I found that one out by accident. Not by accident. I mean, I didn't find it out by accident. She gives you a thing that reveals hidden locations on the map.
Yeah, well, we were dumb and we didn't look at the map.
Yeah. So
it
you're
took
literally,
forever.
that's like, I think, literally what you're supposed to do immediately after getting that.
And be like,
is
where's the hidden areas?
There's a hidden area right here.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, we didn't do that. And then I do remember some of the skill points, like the clue to knowing what to do for the skill point. The name kind of gives you a hint. Some of the ones in the first game are so vague. Like, I remember there's a skill point called Girl Trouble. And to get Girl Trouble, on the Blarg station where you have like the evil like little frogs in the tunnels and you have the boss fight with like the big monster, that is the girl, and you have to kill her with the wrench only to get Girl Trouble.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
which is fun. Just weird. And then in the second game, I remember one that had us stuck for like months until like I had to like figure. I just gave up and like looked it up. Is a skill point called "You Can Break a Snowdan," and it's like, what the fuck is a snowdan? And it turns out a snowdan, it's like snowman. It was just like a little snowman hidden off in like a random corner on the planet that had like one of the developers' faces like on it. And you just had to like break amazing. It. Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can find that. I want to find Snowdan.
Snowdan? You can break a snowdan.
Oh, I found it.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks so stupid.
Yeah.
Oh.
The little, yeah. But that's just like hidden. Dan Johnson was an artist at Insomniac, and I don't know when, but he passed away. I think maybe relatively unexpectedly. And so like the Snowdan was like a tribute to him, and they like have like other Easter eggs in their games that are tributes to him, which is kind of sweet. But that's one of them.
So he passed away like during the first game development then.
I don't actually know.
That's not cool. It's cool that they memorialized him. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
That sounded so bad.
No.
Oh man.
It's cool that he died. No.
Oh, yes,
that's not what we meant.
That's cool. No, that's not what I meant.
Yeah.
Oh god. Okay. So yeah, that's all I have for level design unless you have anything else.
Nah.
All right, let's move on to the characters. Are there any like side characters that appear in this game that you're like love them?
Absolutely
love them. Helga. Yeah, she's great, isn't she?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe this is a spoiler, maybe you shouldn't tell me, but like are there any characters like side characters, not Quark, that are like Skid McMarx is in the later games, right? Like he's in Rift Apart, isn't he?
He's in Rift Apart, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any other ones that are like kind of become characters throughout the series? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I hope it's the plumber.
Oh yeah. Oh, the plumber has like yeah. Lore wise, or the vibe of the plumber gets weird later. I don't know how else to explain it. Yeah. Not sadly not on the PS2 titles though.
He's kind of like a conduit for like a lot of the political commentary, it feels like too.
Yeah. Definitely, yes, in this game. Oh, yeah, he makes a reappearance in Up Your Arsenal. Actually, no, I'm lying. He makes an appearance in, I think, just about every game.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah, he's in the second game. I forgot about him, but he's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's neat. Like to see it. I love a good side character.
Yeah. Oh,
side character showing up like that.
I am so excited to get to Up Your Arsenal because, God, it's got some good stuff.
Me too. That's one that I've never got to actually play. So
yeah.
That'll be good. I wanted to ask if there were any like jokes or references that you like did not pick up on at all as a kid, went over your head completely.
Yeah. I know that you have Skid McMarx noted. Yeah, that definitely went over my head, and like
didn't get it.
Years later, I like realized, and I was like, that is so funny. I didn't even notice.
I think I understood a skid mark.
Oh, I didn't even know what that was when I was a kid.
No, not as like a poop thing, but as like a on the road thing.
Oh, yeah, no, I knew that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I didn't know about the poop thing. And it's
Yeah, I
so
didn't know that
funny.
his name was Poop Stain
Right.
until later.
Oh God. Yeah, there's that I didn't get. Also, I think this one has the ending where like the bonus scene of Steve McQuark at Gadgetron
Right.
in the personal hygienator and like grabs his crotch.
What
and
is he
like
doing? Is he
screams.
shaving his balls or something? Like,
I don't know what it's doing. It's just very uncomfortable.
Because they're like reaching to turn off the TV or something. Yeah, that's I guess he's shaving his ball. It was like a Manscaped ad before Manscaped ads.
Yeah. And then like a bunch of like the political stuff went way over my head. Didn't even
obviously
understand. Yeah.
I'm on the same board with skid marks. The boob, I threw in the boob glitch in here. Didn't know it existed though. Probably. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't know where else to put it.
I didn't understand that the soldiers on Battaglia were supposed to be like Vietnam, sort of like a joke, sort of a thing. Yeah.
Everything else, I understood it. I was a very smart kid, so got all of it. Yeah.
Drek is bad.
Drek is bad.
Ratchet's kind of mean, but he's still good and cool.
So I put, do you prefer like PS2 Ratchet or like PS3 Ratchet? I think we already discussed this in the first part.
That's fine. I don't think we said it. Well, no, we discussed the humor, like the crude humor versus
generally.
I think I prefer.
He's definitely
I was gonna say I think I prefer PS2 Ratchet actually.
I think I do as well. He feels like more of a character, and I feel like the later, PS5 and stuff. It's like, what is there to this dude? He feels just like a good dude. Like, it's kind of.
But also at the point you find him in Rift Apart, he has still been through everything in the other games. So he has like reached his like peak Zen matured state. Like there isn't really anywhere else for him to go anyway, besides just being a cool dude. Cause like everything in his circumstances has like led him to being a cool, chill dude. I think
he's not going to get like hot headed over something.
Yeah. He's old. He's older now. He's like a middle-aged man.
I think that's what I want. I want for him to still feel like all, fiery and self-righteous about something or whatever. So
yeah, a little cocky, and that like kind of sticks with him. He has like some moments where that shines through in the second game, the third game, and Deadlocked. But by the time Tools of Destruction rolls around, that's kind of like way toned down. Yeah.
I wanted to discuss real quick Ratchet's character design, and we can discuss any of the other characters' character design because I had one point of issue with it, and that was the very defined square teeth that he's rocking in this first game. I don't know if that stood out to you.
No.
I'm just going to see if I can find like a good example so we can better discuss this.
The thing about this game that is kind of weird in terms of Ratchet's design is whenever you see him in like a cutscene, his ears are like so droopy and floppy.
Right.
But in game, they only get that way when he has one health point left. Other than that, they're like pointed straight. And that's something that doesn't really carry over into the next games. Like in cutscenes, his ears stay more like consistent, which I think is strange, but whatever.
I found one. It's literally the thumbnail of this video.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna put it in the PS2 chat.
All right. Oh, see, that doesn't bother me at all. Like
it's not like that in the later games. He's got more like he's got like a jagged tooth, and this it feels like he's just got human teeth.
Yeah, I guess.
If he feels like one of those dentist dolls.
Okay.
With the teeth that you brush.
Yeah.
And that kind of bothered me a little bit, but I lived.
Okay.
I don't know if any of the other characters like jumped out at you. I feel like everyone's pretty consistent throughout the whole series almost. Like Clank looks identical, just gets shinier.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's a robot. He doesn't change.
yeah. His design is real good. Cork and them all pretty much stay the same.
In early production, Clank was originally supposed to be 3 baby robots, and they condensed them into one little guy.
Okay.
So he's just the one little guy, yeah.
Was it meant to be like the Glove of Doom just following you around, I guess?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they would like hover around like your head or what the idea, or if you could like swap them out for like different utilities maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know what the idea was, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad they landed on Clank because I feel like his dynamic with Ratchet is pretty solid, pretty perfect for this type of game.
Right.
I don't really have anything else to discuss with the characters unless you want to touch on anyone in particular.
No, I don't think so.
I really love Clank's mom. That's probably one of the funniest parts of the game to me. I just thought that it really tickled me. And also, I love the shady dude that sells you the rhino. That's probably a nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
Again, associated with this mythical weapon that I will never attain.
Oh, I did like the guy in Ultanis who is like, he lost his hearing. And so he's just like yelling at you.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what?
Yeah. That's funny. He was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Olga, like you mentioned, or Helga. What was
Helga, yeah.
Helga. Yeah, she good. Everyone else, real solid. Yeah. I mean, that's all I got for characters.
Yep.
Music and sound design. I want to know, like, what are the most nostalgic sound cues in the game for you? Because I got a handful.
Novalis, so the planet, I guess, after Belden soundtrack, where there's like a little bit of like a hip hop, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah. Like the beat break sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Like that.
Yeah.
That like sticks in my head. The Gemlik bass soundtrack is one of my favorites. I don't know if you remember what Gemlik bass was. It was the one where you were like in space and you had to wear the oxygen helmet. And you had to have the ship fight with Quark.
Oh yeah, it gets a little spicy.
Yeah, it's just weird, and I like it. Mm-hmm. And then also the sound effect when you pull out the Devastator and it like extends and makes like that pow kind of a noise.
I had the same thing, but for the swing shot. That's the one that I'm like heavily associated in my head is pulling that out.
Yeah, because it kind of has like a metallic, like squeaky, like a kind of a yeah,
like it's priming. It's cool. Also the wall jump sound, the little
boop, yeah,
pop, pop, yeah, that's good. That stuck out to me like as soon as I came back to the game. I'm like, oh, I love this sound.
Yeah,
and also this is like a whole like visual audio experience, but like the loading screens and going to the different planets.
Yeah,
the like Doppler effect that you get with like the ship, which that's like ingrained in my head.
What's the like, Doppler effect? Oh, when it gets like tiny.
It's like when a car passes you by. It's like
oh yeah. No, I love that. The sound design is really good for that. Yeah, yeah.
Now, obviously, that wouldn't happen in space, but yeah. That's those are the ones that like jumped out enough for me to like take note.
Yeah. There is a video essay that I watched, and I think it's called something along the lines of like, why is the Ratchet and Clank soundtrack so good? And it talks about how like it integrates all of these different types of sounds and like the hip hop stock sounds and stuff like that. It was very good, very interesting. I am not a music expert. We are not music experts, so we can't.
Famously, we are not music experts on this podcast.
We can't like elaborate on that. But if you're interested, go find that video, go watch it.
Yeah, I put that down whenever discussing the soundtrack. Was like, I remember some of it and I like it, but like video game soundtracks just like rarely stick with me. I think they stick with you more than me, and it's just hard for me to like if I was listening to it on its own. I'm trying to think of like video game soundtracks that I even Celeste, Hades,
Minecraft.
But those are like Minecraft, but those are legitimately like so good that they stand on their own. Whereas I like video game music. I like the soundtrack too. I don't know if I would be listening to it on its own unless I wanted a big dose of nostalgia, honestly.
Well, I'm a sucker for nostalgia, so I listen to soundtracks when I'm in the mood for it, and that's how I guess like pick up on it and appreciate it. By the way, that video essay that I mentioned about the Ratchet and Clank soundtrack is by Aster, Aster. So if you want to look that up.
Aster, like from Skyrim.
Is there an Aster in Skyrim?
Dark Brotherhood?
That's Astrid.
Astrid. You know, I remember approximately everyone's name.
Okay, that's good.
So if that's all we got for music and sound, then that's all we got for everything prior to recommendations. So where can you play Ratchet and Clank? In 2023. You can play it on the CRT, bust out that composite cable and hook it up with your PlayStation 2, and that looks real nice. Big fan of that. I did notice some moving textures on like the PlayStation 2 version whenever I would get like close to stuff, but it was not like a big deal. That's like the only like visual like oddity, I guess, that I was like picking up on. And that may be a thing in the PS3 and Vita versions as well. I just didn't notice. I remember the PS3 version and the Vita version both having some like UI issues, little hiccups. I think the Gadgetron vendor gets like all stretched and squished and stuff, right? Am I mistaken?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Which is a little strange because you interact with that guy on a constant basis and he's just all smashed, which is weird. I don't know who ported this. I'm curious.
Idle Minds.
Okay.
And I think I don't think it was even like their fault. It was like budget constraints, budget and time constraints.
Mm-hmm. I get that. I liked the Vita version. It was cool to just have Ratchet and Clank in your pocket, but the tiny thumbsticks were like an issue sometimes. You got used to it. It was enough to persevere through, but narrow pathways and hoverboard races were kind of difficult. So other than that, pretty good. I noticed that the Vita kind of has like a dark screen in general, and I was playing it in like pretty bright environments.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the darker levels were more difficult to navigate. But yeah. So were you emulating this one?
No, I played the 10th anniversary edition, HD remaster, whatever you want to call it, on my PS3.
Gotcha.
However, I do know this game is notoriously difficult to emulate, and I think it has to do with just how the game was made. I don't know if it has to do with like the optimization or something about it does not like to get along super well with emulators, but that it's not like impossible to emulate.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of tricky, I think.
Yeah. And that's kind of surprising considering this is probably one of the most, I don't know, desired games to emulate if I had to guess, just based off, other, it's a very popular PS2 game. So
yeah,
this game desperately needs to be brought forward in like an authentic way. I don't have any problems with like the remake, but like just this trilogy of games being playable not through PlayStation Plus streaming would be great.
Mm-hmm.
So Morgan, do you recommend this game?
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna say no. Honestly, nah.
Wow.
No, not really my thing. No, I'm kidding.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Childhood crushed.
We both love this game. I think it's would you like still? So like, let's say someone's never played a Ratchet and Clank game. They love the PS2 for some reason, have not played a Ratchet and Clank game. Do you recommend they jump into this first game, or is like the second game so much better? Because I know that you love the second game.
No, I would say that they should jump into the first one.
Okay.
That way they can appreciate the second one more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think despite like some sluggishness compared to later games, it's definitely very playable compared to a lot of other like PlayStation. It holds up better than most. So
yes. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And it's got a nice little story. It sets up the universe. It's fun. The villain is fun. It's a fun game. In case someone skipped to like the very end of this podcast and is just like hoping for like a summary of everything. It's a good game and you should play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So normally we discuss like whether or not we think a game should be remade in this tail end of the discussion, but if this game has already been remade, so I don't really know if it's worth remaking again. I want to discuss like what is the general consensus around this remake, because I was under the impression that most people liked the remake, but you seem to think otherwise.
Yeah, well, I've gotten like conflicting information because I personally did not have a problem with it, but people in so there is a well-known Ratchet and Clank speedrunner, Zem, XEM, and he did not like the remake at all. And it seemed like he's like a pretty decently popular streamer. And I think it sounded like his chat didn't really care for it either. And they were like, the Arsenal was boring and they didn't like some of the changes that were made, stuff like that. But I don't have a problem with the remake. I think it's fine.
I could see that being a pretty difficult like group of people to please, is the people, surprisingly, the people like still like hardcore playing the original.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, because they're the ones who are going to be the most demanding, most likely.
Right. So. And just that being said, while I have speedrunning brought up, as far as speedruns go, Ratchet and Clank speedruns are some of the most entertaining to watch, by the way. Like they're like kind of nutty. It's That's not cool. Like a 7-hour long thing. They're like, an hour, or some of them are even like down to 15 minutes. Like it's kind of wild. So
nice.
If you're interested, check it out.
I watched like a tiny bit of it in preparation for this episode, and it was neat. There seemed to be like a lot of like discoveries made at various points and stuff like that. So that was cool. So yeah, I just think the main games need to be brought forward. I think that we got a remake and it was what it was. just some sort of a porting to modern platforms would be great.
And sorry, one last thing, like circling back to the remake. I think the thing that was most disappointing about the remake for me was the changes to the plot did not really leave any room. Maybe. I mean, no, I think you could still work it out. But I was like hoping like, oh, they remade the first one. Now, can you remake my favorite game, the second one? And they didn't do that, which is fine. But I was also like, I want that remade and all pretty.
I think my ideal would be like a Crash Insane sort of treatment where it's like the trilogy and it's just preserved, you know, gameplay wise and stuff like that, but visually is updated.
Right.
That would be the ideal.
Right. And the tone and the story are preserved. Yeah. Too. Because I kind of missed that. I did miss that in the remake, I guess.
It's hard for me to imagine like a scenario where that wouldn't sell like gangbusters. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know like what development wise how demanding a project like that would end up being. Assuming it is like the 3 games or whatever. I assume you can get away with $70 for like remaster of the 3 games, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's also like, not to knock on Spyro because I love Spyro to pieces, but like Spyro's like platforming and level design and like mechanics and stuff are very like simple. The games are kind of short, whereas like this is like a longer because like you have some pretty long levels and like a long experience and New Game Plus and all that jazz. Like I would pay $70 for a remastered trilogy or whatever, but yeah.
Man, I was all on board for the Crash and Spyro like trilogies remastered thing that was going on. They were just like so nice and polished, and like it still had like all the old game jank. Like the first Crash game is a nightmare.
Yeah.
But it was like so pretty and stuff that it was like, oh, this is a fun nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, like it caught on for a little bit, it seemed, but yeah, I wish we were still getting these like remastered trilogies on the regular. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, I think we've sort of like entered the era of 90s nostalgia, and I think we're gonna have to wait just a little bit longer before we get into the early 2000s nostalgia, if that makes sense.
Maybe, yeah. I'm primed and ready with this podcast, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we're ahead of the curve on the nostalgia train, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my ideal. We talk about it a lot on this podcast, actually. The theoretical remaster of Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, and Sly Cooper as just being like an awesome like trilogy. But yeah, what would you personally like to see next for the Ratchet and Clank series?
Okay, they have been teasing for like ages now. So the thing about Ratchet that's not really explored on the PS2 games at all, so I don't really feel bad about bringing it up. Ratchet is basically the only Lombax left in the galaxy, and Tools of Destruction and the future trilogy follows that plot. Kind of got dropped for a little bit, but then Rift Apart picks it back up because we have Rivet, and also we have a device that lets you travel to alternate dimensions. And one of those dimensions is where the Lombaxes are, like the rest of them. And I'm like, can we please just go see them? I just want him to see his family, or, you know, his, like, the rest of his species. I want to know, like, what their vibe is, what the culture's like. I gotta see all those little fuzzy guys.
I have to. Please.
I'm obsessed with those critters. Give me more.
That makes sense. I mean, so it's kind of left open for a sequel, right? At the end of Rift Apart.
Well, there's like this whole sort of like subplot with Ratchet in Rift Apart where he's sort of, Clank is like, hey, so the Dimensionator, the thing that Nefarious stole and used to like create all the chaos that happens in the game, was a Lombax invention. And it is used and is part of Tools of Destruction, but it gets broken. And it doesn't work anymore, so you can't like use it to do anything. But Clank fixed it so that Ratchet could go see the Lombaxes and like reunite with his species. And then like Ratchet's kind of like wishy-washy, like, oh, I don't know if like they'll like me or whatever. And I'm like, please just go. And then at the end of Rift Apart, he's like, yeah, okay, we can go find him. So that's where I hope they take it. Yeah. Also, yeah, your camera just like gone, and we were both like, oh, hello.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I really want them to make more of this, like this series with Rivet. Like I hope Rivet stays for a little bit.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Games take much longer to make, and we'll see how that ends up going. I know they got their hands full over at Insomniac with freaking every Marvel property under the sun. So yeah, I don't know. I assume they have like a Ratchet team, just kind of always working on Ratchet. If I had to
maybe.
guess.
Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, I think a new game in that series would be what I would like to see next. Yeah, that's all we got for Ratchet and Clank. We did it.
All right, tell me about our next game. Oh, sorry, forgot to clap.
We got to clap.
Forgot.
All right, our next game we are going to play Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex, the first Crash Bandicoot game not developed by Naughty Dog.
Ooh.
And, a very divisive video game. I will mark my words. I'm making a verbal commitment to finishing this game, even if I perish in the process, because it's, I think, so I played this game, I reviewed it on my personal channel, and I just like straight up couldn't finish it, and I like hated it.
Have you grown stronger in the years since?
I hope I have.
More resilient.
I would like to try to persevere and finish it. So we'll see if I can be held to that.
I was gonna say no. There is no. We'll see. You made the commitment.
I made the commitment. Yeah. There's a plethora of bullshit in this game.
Okay.
Which is, you know what? That's faithful to the Crash formula.
Yeah, kind of is, isn't it?
It kind of is. But yeah, we'll play it. It's a pretty nostalgic game for me, honestly. So I grew up with this game, played it quite a lot. So there's a lot of, fun imagery and characters and stuff that I'm all about. But the game itself is too difficult. But yeah, that's what we'll be doing next month. Thank you for listening to this episode. Please support the podcast by leaving a review or rating on whatever platform you like to listen on, subscribe or follow to stay up to date with the games we're playing, and share the show with a friend who also likes the PlayStation 2, I guess, or this generation of video games. Also, write in with any questions or feedback to analogschtickmail@gmail.com. Send all hate mail to there as well, I guess. We'll read it. It'll be nice. Thank you for adding that. I almost tripped up at the end. But yeah, until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.